I would say the CIO needs to think about how risk management is done within the organization that or at a CEO level. I find that as a CIO, your risk appetite is usually very different from the organizational risk appetite. In tech risk, you take a lot of risks that the business is not prepared to take. So you need to transform yourself as part of your upskilling to think about what is the appetite for risk in this business, and especially when things go wrong. What does your CEO put up with when tech goes wrong? And how would you handle that? And I think in transforming from a CIO to a CIO to a CEO, I think that you need to also transform the way you think about risk and how you perceive what is acceptable in terms of strategic operations, which is very different from the tech.
Okay. So there's switching gears a bit. It's been in the press, especially like the tech press. It's a discussion that's going on for probably about the last 2-3-4 years ago, where there's a discussion that the new role of the CDO, Chief Digital Officer, who seems to be now clouding the clout of the CIO. Is this real? Is it perceived? Is it imagined? And does the CIO need to worry about it?
Maybe I can go first, Harry.
Yeah.
When you talk about the CDO position, you're really saying the Chief Data Officer. I think it's borrowed more from the efforts CIO make in innovation and digitization. And for us to put that into perspective, we've got to go back 10 years back. So there are jobs that didn't exist 10 years back. Now in modern enterprises, you get roles like search engine optimization, cloud ops dev. You're talking about jobs that virtually weren't existent then. Now, what has given rise to the Chief Data Officer? It's really the evolution of technology. I was very happy to look at Laura's slides in the opening remarks that the most acquired software the past 1 year has been business intelligence, and really understandably so. And when you look at the most acquired system across enterprise has been BI, and now looking at the rise of Chief Data Officer, that role now sits in data analysts, really within the CIO. I think the rise of CDO would be a very good thing because that would give the CIO more time to focus on the strategic issues that would basically be about innovation, the next tech solution that would sort out operational issues. I think we're likely to see, and just judging by Laura's first few slides during today's session, BI is going to give rise to CDO roles, and you're going to see companies heavily recruiting data analysts, data miners, because many companies would be leveraging on data for growth and for information. And so I would say the roles would work very closely together. Harry.
Okay. Anybody else wants to take a jab at that? Philip, anything from you? Karina? James?
Yeah.
Yes. I had a question, Harry, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Karina.
My question was, when we say CDO in this context, are we talking about data or are we talking about digital? Chief data or chief digital officer?
Actually, it's digital. It's more digital. So the chief digital officer, this is the one that has been said to be the CIO killer. Yeah, like boom.
All right. I'll let James go ahead then.
Yeah, I want to agree with Bruno. The CDO or Chief Data Officer role has come to has risen just because probably IT wasn't stepping up to take on one of technology's most important value addition that is leveraging information out of the data. Now that the business would like to leverage more out of it, it's influence type of decisions that they are taking. Find that there is a lot of focus on this. Nonetheless, the two roles, identity, the CIO focus on taking this level in terms of data acquisition, experience and efficiency, such like while the CIO focuses on being the
Okay, great. So we don't have any questions, and my friend tells me we have 3 minutes. I just want to say, tweet size closing max. A tweet is how many characters nowadays? It's like one word something. Okay, so maybe I start with Alan here. Sorry, Philip. You know, I confuse Alan and Philip Digo. So forgive me for that.
That's my father, right? No, I'm just saying, I think for CIOs to remain relevant, I'll still look at reskilling and upskilling, especially the soft skills that are beyond technology and innovation. And the second piece, I think, for me is simply then to understand how do they always keep ahead of the curve around the changes that we are seeing and the exponentiality of technology.
Okay. Karina?
Harry, for me, other than the technology, moving from CIO to CEO, I think that inclusion, diversity are also aspects that need to be looked at as part of the skill set, and that's where the world is moving together with the other disruptions that are happening.
Okay, great. Very good point there. James?
Yes, the CIO is becoming an operational business leader, especially as in the digital age where what is business and what is IT is becoming hard to judge. His experience and if he can move to do the other areas of the business, then we see them becoming CEOs.
Excellent. Bernard?
Thanks, Harry. I was going through a report that out of the top 10 fastest growing countries in the world, 19 of them are in Africa. It couldn't get any more clearer than that. You're looking at $180 billion internet economy projected. So in the next 5 years, I think, Harry, the moment is here. Really, the future is here. To every CIO, I think if you're not digitally transforming your environment by leveraging on Industry 4.0 technologies, I am sorry, you may be left behind. I think the moment is here, Harry.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your time sharing your insights with us. Have a good day, and back to our audience. So you heard it, guys. You heard it. It's possible for a CIO to ascend to the CEO. But the mindset needs to change. You need to start looking at the business more seriously, looking at the operations, looking at other things than tech. For you to actually to be able to get to that space. You need to start thinking business, you need to collaborate with other business leaders in your organization. And we want to see more CIOs ascending to CEOs. And that's the mantra that I'm going to be pushing from now on. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions. And stay tuned, stay here, so that we can continue discussing tech in this 2020. Thank you very much.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, my name is Gunther Chen. I think on this session, I think I'm going to be talking about the digital economy of banking system, how to operate. Especially on the post-pandemic, we can find that the whole world moved to digital economy very, very quickly. So I think this topic is going to address that the issue that is how, as a bank, how can you run your business in the digital economy? First of all, I will introduce myself, right? My name is KT Cheng, or I think Chen Gunther is my name, right? I work for Huawei. Before this, actually my experience is in the banking industry and also, in the technology industry. I've been as a Chief Information Officer of China Merchants Bank about 5 years. And then before as a CIO, I'm leading the private banking and wealth management of China Merchants Bank. I think CMB is the leading private banking, and also wealth management business in China market, right? And I also be as a president of a bank, which is foreign licensed bank. And before this, I'm head of the retail and credit card, business in China Trust Commercial Bank. So, in my career, actually combined the business, banking business, and also technology. My first job is a technology company more than 17 years. So this is my background. All right. Since this year, after pandemic, I think we conduct many meetings, over 140 meetings around the world, and talking to many banks executive, especially for the CIO, CEO, those kind of executive, discuss the direction of the trend and post-pandemic, how as a bank we face those kind of challenges, and what is the initiative and what is the direction, and how we using technology to improve our banking business. All right, so you can see that I believe most of the economy is moving to digital payment because pandemic, contactless, right? Social distance, right? So digital payment become very popular, and also customer keen to use it, right, to protect himself. And then another thing is digital transformation. Another way is mobile transformation, all right, which bank have to using new technology to improve their business, especially after pandemic. So I think how to using cloud technology and leading edge, mobile technology, 5G is going to be a very important trend of the bank when we are facing to the post-pandemic banking business operation. All right. I think this chart, I'm going to say what is the digital economy. I think digital economy is very interesting. It's still in the developing of digital economy. I think we are in China. The China is very close to those kind of digital economy. We can see in China, right? People using mobile payment to do almost whole their daily life, include everything. For example, you do the transportation, take bus, you not just restaurant, entertainment, and also government services, all the, your daily life. Basically, you rely on the mobile payment or online payment as well. So why this situation be happening? Because the, internet company, digital company like e-commerce company, right? It's very popular in China, right? We know it's Alibaba and also JD.com. Recently have, Pinduoduo, they just, disclose their, quality financial result. They, start to make profit, right? So I think this is very popular. The whole digital economy is being accelerated by the e-commerce company. And then the social platform like WeChat start from an instant messaging company, right? And then they get into the social platform, do the social business, right? And of course, they also do gaming, game business. This is their major business revenue today, anyway. And then they get into the digital payment, mobile payment, right? So they create a scan QR code, mobile payment. Then they push the whole society, whole economic shifting to the digital economy, because everything, you can do digital to sell your product, to tracking all your merchandising, right, to the customer, right? Because that all can be digital, because the payment is be digitalized, right? So you will see in the banking industry, you find that the customer even use less cash to using cash, right? Most of the case they don't using cash, they just using mobile phone. And they also do not carry the bank card, right? Because everything through the mobile phone can do the payment. You through the mobile phone can access all your banking services, right? And they can do the payment, they can do the commerce, they can do the social, they can do the entertainment online. Even the mobile phone start to managing your electronic appliance, right? You can control management your telephone, your TV, and your wearable equipments, and also refrigerator, that sort of things. And the whole economics shifting to digital very, very quickly. So you can find that most of the customers go to the super app architecture, the super app company like WeChat, the Alipay, and JD.com, and food delivery and transportation, and then they expand to other business area, right? So they can cover every individual's daily life, everything, from food, closure, transportation, even in the walking, right? And then they start to penetrate into the financial services, because they're building up the digital economy. They collect lots of customer information, right? This is the big data. By leverage the data intelligence, right? So they can provide the financial services. In the same time, by leveraging those by leveraging all these financial services to improve, to accelerate, to grow their e-commerce business, right? They increase their customer traffic, right? They increase their contact with the customer, engagement to the customer, right? So it's become a digital economy. So within this economy, we can find that most of the banking industry still pretty much focus on the transaction process. Unfortunately, they do not get into the digital economy world, knows how to using digital way to engage to the customer, to serve the customer, to cooperate with some digital company on the digital economy to serve the customer, right? So you will see that this is a challenge to the bank. Lack of technology capacity, right? They don't have chance to face to the customer, right? Because the customer don't use cash, they don't using bank card, they don't come to your branch, right? They're using mobile phone, right? And they, do other commerce, all these activities, and come with all the payment together. So, the bank lose the information, of the customer. They don't know the customer anyway, they lose to the internet company. So I think how can we build the future competence on the banking, it's going to be very challenging, all right? So in this, I think in this page, I roughly described that conventional banking industry is in this area, right? You still pretty much focus on your transaction process, and you forget the whole society. Actually, on the right-hand side, you see billions of customers through the app, mobile, right? And cloud computing, data, AI, they expand to whole life. It's whole digital economy, right? So you will see, most of the business, company, they join in this platform. Even the bank, right? If the bank want, direct facing to the customer, then you have to change your, system, your way, how you do the business, right? For example, how you do digital engage to your customer, how you do the, digital business with your, customer to serve your individual, to serve your business customer, to serve your corporate customer. You have to using digital way to do that. Usually we will only say talking about open API, but personal, I believe that's not enough, because when we get into the digital economy, everything is changing so fast. You got to be very agile to address those issues, and you have to know that how to using digital way to acquire customer, to serve your customer, right? So that's very important. Okay, this is my experience in China. When I worked for CMB, China Merchants Bank, we faced this challenge being, more than 6 or 7 years. The internet company continuously penetrate into the financial industry. So, I separate this as 4 stages. As a bank, I think we can reference this to know how we can well prepare ourselves to be success in the digital economy. In the early stage, usually we will ignore, we are ego, right? But in the second stage, when we find that customer more engaged to the internet company, they're using their payment solution, they join their commerce, and they get credit from this company. I think you feel threatening and you have pressure from those companies. Usually we will come back to compete with them. But, because we pretty much still focus on our legacy transaction process, so we do not care about the digital way to engage to the customer. So I think we are setting our strategy in the third stage, benchmark and learning. That's very important, because as a bank, if you want to get rid of your legacy system and also get into the digital economy world, you have to know that how to using technology, and how the technology internet company, especially the e-commerce company, social platform, the digital payment company, how they using their technology, right? How they develop their business model, how they improve their customer experience, to serve the customer, right? Once we learn this, then we can change our, services to our customer, right? And then we get into the digital business operation as a bank, right? Once you get into the digital world, then you will find that as a bank, we still be highly regulated. So you have to find a way to reposition yourself, set your strategy, because we are not an internet company. We want to dominate the whole market. It's going to become a systematic bank, right? So usually what I'm going to say is we have to reposition ourselves, set new strategy. Of course, during this stage, the benchmark and learning stage, you got to know how to change your organization, right? How to using technology, how to be agile. So it's going to be a tough transformation stage anyway. Okay, so this is some of experience which I discussed with many bankers, right, and CIOs. I think start from the digital payment is it seems a very good way to do that. Digital payment ecosystem combine from your individual customer, your buyer, right, your merchant, your seller, right? So you build up a digital ecosystem through the mobile. You can using QR code or EMC or the payment, right? Mobile pay, right? EMC payment, right? So EMV payment. So what I'm going to say is, if you leverage this, the buyer and seller, then you can construct an e-coupon society, an e-coupon ecosystem. Then you can, using digital way, to activate your customer and also help your merchant business, right? Your merchant customer, your business customer. And then you can, using your merchant's power merchants customer, which is not your customer, right? You can convert those your bank's customer to a wallet customer, and then do the upsell, cross-sell. Of course, during this process, you will aggregate a whole bunch of data, right? And also you can be agile using super app architecture. You can empower your branch, your bank organization people to write their own mini program, right? They can design their campaign in your branch. They can engage to the merchant, and you can engage to your individual customers as well. Then you can use by using e-coupon platform to activate, upsell, cross-sell your customer. I think this is quite a mature business model actually in China. So there are so many service provider. Actually, they can provide those kind of services because in China, it's whole mobile payment society. All right. I think this page I'm going to demonstrate. On the left-hand side, the demonstration is going to say that this is the bank app, right? And using engagement way to deal with transformation. You see, my colleague, he tried to transfer, give me a red packet, right? So see, you will see, he come to my directory and he input the amounts he wanted, transfer the money to me, and it's just like give me a red packet, right? And he sent the message to me in the same time. So it's very, very similar to social, engagement style, right? So you will see that, so there is a journey, right? So you can see that, I can, especially this is true mobile phone engagement, all right? Okay, so here is the journey. Transfer the amount, right? Transfer success, right? So next one is, this is, my movie ticket. Actually, the movie ticket start from, you can preview the movie, right? You can see the actress, the actors, and then you can choose the theater. You can choose the seat. So you can pay the money, all right? You do the payment, you buy the ticket, and you can bring your wife, all right, to, there's a campaign. Actually, it's a live campaign, all right? So they can do the pay, and on the weekend, you can go to the theater to enjoy the movie. I think in this case, it's showing that the payment actually is not just payment, right? You can start from the checkout. For example, you want to have a movie, then you screen what movie you have through the app. You can preview the movie. You can check all the stories, all right? And then you can select the theater, choose the seat, and then you do the payment, and then you go to the movie. So it's a journey, all right? It's a journey. Actually, in digital world, this is the life. It's digital life, all right? So next page. I think in this page, it's my last page. This is some recommendation which I want let for our audience as a reference. So first one, I think as a bank, usually we benchmark other banks, but I strongly recommend you have to benchmark internet companies, successful internet company as well. This is very important. It's not just let you to know the leading edge technology, and also learn how they serve the customer. It's very important to create a better customer, the most good customer experience, and how can be agile as well. The second thing is, I think digital payment is the very good way to get into the digital business operation, because you can separate this from your conventional legacy system. You can build a new digital payment ecosystem, and then you learn how to using digital way to acquire customer, to activate customer, to upsell customer, to migrate customer, to retain your customer as well. So that's very important. So it's a very good way to get into the digital economy. And another thing is, I think to find a good partner is very important. Especially you have to find a partner which is experienced on the digital payment world, right? So they're very good on the, by using coupon, by using mobile, to deal with the business and also individual customer. So that's very important. So I think this is all my recommendation, to the our audience. And this is all my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to CIO TV. We are glad to be having you here. And this is the CIO 100 Symposium and Awards. Thank you so much for engaging with us, and thank you for being here. We are glad and honored to have you with us. I hope you, and I'm confident that you have been enjoying the session. And thank you so much, Chen Kute, for taking us through that particular discussion, but also to Hari Hare for that panel discussion. We totally enjoyed it, and I love what you said, that you're going to move the CIOs to CEOs, and he's making it his personal agenda. We are glad to hear that. Ladies and gentlemen, we also want to get into another interesting panel discussion, and this is where we're going to be talking about the next radical change in customer experience. Definitely, you know that the game has changed. We know that we have embraced technology, things have become virtual, and we are transforming and becoming better each day. And as we move from one step to another, it's a radical change, and I'm confident that you are ready, gummed up, and prepared for this particular transformation. And to take us through this particular session, our moderator, he is the founder and CEO of Dot Service Limited. This is none other than Moses Kemibaro. Let me tell you one thing about this gentleman. He is passionate about what he does. He is transformational. He loves technology and he has it to heart. So ladies and gentlemen, I will say this, lend us your ears as you listen to this particular panel discussion, because it's going to transform the way you look at things. And after the panel discussion, we are going to have the head of public policy East and Horn of Africa at Facebook. This is none other than Masin Degwa, who is going to be taking us through leveraging innovation to improve operational efficiency. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Stay engaged, stay online, get excited, get hungry. And one thing I can tell you, and this is something that Moses was telling me, never settle. Over to you, Moses. My name is Ian Mwerore. I'm your moderator, and this is CIO TV.
Customers are really the heart and soul of everything that comes to business today. We know that customer experience has been transformed, especially in times of this current pandemic. There's a lot of uncertainty, and technology really has come to the forefront of ensuring that customer experience can be what they expect in ways that we probably never imagined before. We know that everyone is adopting social distancing. E-commerce has become one of the ways that we purchase everything, even here in Kenya. We see a work from home trend where, for the last 8 months or so, people are not actually sitting in their offices and increasingly using digital platforms. To do this effectively, you'll see that, for instance, purposeful leadership is important because you need to have a clear, consistent, and compelling compelling vision about what customer experience should be across digital channels. Employees are also very much a part of this process, making sure that we can elevate the customer experience for digital experiences, and also looking at customer connectedness, where we can look at customer perspectives, understanding how we work and deliver the best value propositions to them via digital platforms. At this point, I would like us to introduce our panel. I think it's an incredibly capable panel that is going to take us through this topic around looking at digital leadership and the next radical change in customer experience. We have with us Ian Jensen van Rensburg, who's the VMware lead technologist and also the senior SE manager. Welcome, Ian. We also have Martin Mirero, the CEO of Huduma Kenya. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have Winnie Sergan, who's the CIO of Boresha Sacco. And lastly, we have Anita Chege, heading the digital transformation at the HF Group. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
So as we always say, ladies first. So Anita, I would like to give you the pleasure of giving us the first comments around this particular topic. So you're heading up digital transformation, something that I think COVID has accelerated across the board globally and even here in Kenya. You're doing so at HF Group, where I believe you're having many initiatives that are taking advantage of transformation. I'm sure you're a very, very, very busy person at this point in time. So my question to you is, what sort of initiatives are you undertaking to transform the customer experience at HF Group? How are you ensuring that the broader leadership team across the board within your organization is sort of cognizant of these changes and equipping them to be digital first in the way that you're engaging customers as an organization?
All right, thank you so much for that question. Forgive the background noise. I had to rush out of the house because of power issues, hence where I'm seated where yeah. But to your question, one of the key initiatives that we continue to drive at HF is around data. So we're doing a lot of projects around data assimilation from the different sources we have, both structured data and unstructured data. So we have a lot of projects, especially that have been, of course, because of the COVID issue, and also different initiatives that we had in the past have been really brought to the forefront this particular year, right? So in regards to leadership, how am I working with the leadership just to sensitize them on the need of these particular initiatives? One of the things I really appreciate our leadership is that they're very tech savvy. They appreciate the good that comes with the new technologies that are emerging now. Therefore, a lot of these initiatives that we come up with from a technology perspective are very easily adopted by the leadership. So we have a lot of forums where we talk about these emerging technologies, what other banks and financial institutions are doing in regards to these emerging technologies, and more specific customer experience. And in that, with of course, hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Sorry. Yes, so around customer experience, our leadership is very aware of all the benefits that we have around projects to do with data analytics, as well as projects that are steered towards customer experience.
Brilliant. And how are the customers responding? How are they taking up these new approaches?
So the best thing about they're really not aware per se in terms of what is happening on the background. So how they are aware about how they experience the product then is what tells us whether our initiatives are really catering to their needs at that point. So therefore, we've seen a lot of uptake in regards to the different use cases we have on our digital channels around payments. So during the COVID season, we've been able to increase in terms of volume and also just the transaction value that have been going through our digital channels, especially during this COVID season. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. Martin, glad to have you here. I think we are all your customers, so to speak. We're always using the various services available in Duma, so it's a pleasure to have you here. And I think the perspective is a little bit different because you're representing, government services, or I think it's G2C. You're engaging with customers from that point of view, or government to citizens. And services are increasingly going online. All these things like immigration, all obviously had to be realigned to our current pandemic reality. So from your perspective, I'd be very keen to understand how you went through that transition, how you're delivering better citizen service across the board, and more importantly, you know, in the last 8 months, what are you seeing in terms of sort of the evolution or the transformation of how customer experience has been, I suppose, changed due to this pandemic?
Morning. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so of course it's been a very disruptive period, not least for government. The public service I know is perceived to be, a pretty large and slow-moving entity, but I been fairly impressed, at least from my perspective, with the deliberate sort of actions that have been taken to drive structural and behavioral adjustments for this time, especially the last 8 months, as you mentioned. So there's there's even the language around bold and radical initiatives, as opposed to the more evolutionary changes that have traditionally been sort of like the approach in government. Yeah, so there's movement around new priorities, of course, for accelerating the availability of these services, digital services to our primary constituents, the citizens, but also there's also a reorientation of some of the initiatives that we need to take up to ensure citizens are served in a safe and in an environment where their safe and well-being safety, health is also protected. So closer home, like at Huduma Kenya, which as many of you might know, provides sort of a supermarket for government services. There's obviously a big push to take these services online. We've recognized the leadership is actually leading from the front, prioritizing budgets to provide sort of something we're calling the Huduma Popote, which means service anytime, anywhere, which is primarily over digital channels. With regard to the thing I mentioned about trying to ensure safe access to services in our physical channels, like the Huduma centers, we've introduced service by appointment, which is service that allows you to book a slot within a Huduma center of your choice, and then present yourself at that time and to be served without having to join a queue. And there's been fairly good reception of that in the public, and it's something we're hoping to scale out to all our other service points. Yeah, so there's that recognition. I mean, the road is long, for sure. It will take a lot of reorientation, going forward. But we believe that there is space now and the right amount of attention that's been given to the role of technology in helping deliver better services.
Thank you so much, Martin. I think that's really illustrative of just how transformation can really move forward aggressively, even in a government organization where some might think this is something that could take long. But I'm really actually impressed personally that Huduma has really had to adopt and adapt these new approaches to remain relevant and also be able to serve customers in unique ways that weren't possible before. Winnie, karibu sana. Thank you for joining us today. You are the CIO at one of the largest cooperatives in the country. And I'd like to understand maybe from your perspective as a SACCO and what you do there, how are you digitally enabling the customer experience, and how things possibly changed in the last 8 months during this particular pandemic?
Thank you so much, and I'm glad to join the forum this morning to be able to discuss how the digital transformation has been in the SACCO industry. The SACCO is an industry that serves members, and it's one of the reserved financial institutions when it comes to digital adoptions. There was a poll doing rounds on social media that what has actually made you transform? Is it the times, is it the trends, or it's COVID-19? So the the COVID-19 has really made us think of how best we can be able to give the customer experience and more so leveraging on technology. So for the SACCO, it has been a skelter running around to look for that very best solution to be able to give the customer a good experience. And actually, one of them which was in place and saw a very high uptake, as Anita mentioned, is that the uptake of the mobile banking technology doubled from same time last year.
Wow.
Meaning people realize the importance of technology better, or to embrace technology better with the COVID-19. The other technology that we had to embrace was about the member onboarding app. Before, we were going to the field, look for members, ask them to fill a form, ask them to give us their ID, ask them to give us all the credentials that we need for KYC. But with COVID-19, this was made impossible, and there was need to look for a way in which you can be able to attend to these members. The other thing that made us go to get the member onboarding app was also the wanting trends in the SACCO industry. Most of the people are aged 45 years and above, who are major participants and stakeholders in SACCOs. So the only way we could also think of how best to get hold of the youthful generation and the millennials was to get something that they're used to. We are all used to having the phones and the rest. So we worked with Spin Mobile Technologies, and currently we have a member onboarding app. Just download it on Google Play. Give us all your details, be it the email address, the photo. You can even take in form of a selfie, the ID front and back you take in form of a photo.
Hello. Winnie, I think we seem to have lost you. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the app can be able to help us engage with our members and be able to enroll more members who are useful into the society. So the technology has really helped the SACCOs to drive, to serve their members, to give members the experience using online member portal whereby they can be able to check their statements and they can be able to interact and communicate back to the SACCO. So it's something that it has not reached the end. It's a work in progress, and we are going to see how best we can be able to leverage and give customers a better experience as time goes by.
Great, thank you so much. It sounds to me like Borecia SACCO is really sort of embraced and adapted, and it sounds like you're at the very beginning of the journey. But I'm loving the story about reaching out to youth, being able to use mobile apps as a primary channel. That doubling of transactions same period of last year. So I really love the way that it seems that your SACCO and generally has pretty much transformed how it's doing things, and the journey is only beginning. It's only going to get better. Great. So Ian, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And you're representing VMware, a company that I've admired for many, many years, an international player around virtualization and all types of solutions for the enterprise. So from a digital leadership perspective, how are you driving the whole transformation agenda where customer experience is concerned at VMware? And how are you looking at sort of this digitally led context that we now operate in thanks to the current pandemic?
Well, thanks for having me on this panel. Really do appreciate it. So from a VMware perspective, I really want to start off with just saying to the audience, if there's any millennials watching or Generation Z, which I doubt, but these people, I thought that they were the only ones that are what we call digitals. But I can guarantee you now, after the pandemic and during the pandemic, more people have become digitals now, and everyone is starting to make use of virtual platforms and also various type of applications what they have not been using in the past. Also, what we see from a VMware perspective, if we interface with our customers, customers are really pushing very hard to get easy to use, easy to understand, easy to implement VPN virtual private network, software-defined WAN infrastructure for their users, so that the users can easily access applications. Because the application, as I call it, is the VIP in the room. We all use applications on a daily basis, but it's about how easily you can access those applications and how secure you can access those applications. So when we look at what our customers are currently busy with, specifically from a financial sector perspective, is and what VMware is also providing to those customers is definitely a multi-cloud strategy in order to make use of any cloud, whether it is in your private data center, whether it is in a mega cloud provider. It shouldn't really matter. We say that cloud is the new hardware, and if you can place a virtualization layer on top of hardware, you can put a virtualization layer on top of cloud. So whether it is a private cloud, public cloud, telco cloud, it shouldn't really matter where you run your infrastructure. But what's most important is you should be able to automate it, manage it, secure it as if it was running in your own private data center. Then the next thing we are enabling our customers to make use of any application, whether it is traditional applications, which their profitability and livelihood is still based on, or whether it is modern cloud native applications. We assist customers to run both infrastructures, both type of applications in the same fashion. And then also any device, any workplace, and working from anywhere is really what is important. Enabling customers to work from anywhere securely, and what's most important is not to have difficulty doing it.
Well, thank you so much, Ian, for those insights. I'm a big fan of the cloud. You know, we as an organization have worked from home for 8 months. Everything is in the cloud, and that's how it works. So glad to hear that VMware is really looking at how to create those different scenarios to ensure that, you know, work is not a place you go to, but a thing you do wherever you are. So I'd like to kind of maybe look at a last round of questions just to understand a little bit more around maybe the risks and the things that can go wrong, right? Because you are leading your organizations into some of these new spaces and this new brave world of enhancing customer experience across digital platforms. So maybe starting again with you, Anita, what are some of the pitfalls and the things that you've seen that could or have gone wrong when making this transition towards this sort of digitally led customer experience that every organization now has to contend with?
All right, so I think the major pitfalls is around just adoption of the right technology, adoption of the right skills to run this kind of business. So you find digital business is very different from the normal, and speaking from a financial institution, is very different from traditional banking. And digital business is not really led by technology, but by business models that support the technology. So one of the pitfalls that I see with regard to just adoption of digital to deliver customer experience is around the technology that supports that the different customer experience positions, because you find a lot of FSI players struggle with a lot of monolithic kind of technology stacks. So core banking systems are very dated, therefore they don't employ things like technology like microservices. And also in terms of regulation, we have a lot of regulation around running our core banking systems on the cloud. So if you look at that, then delivering on these digital propositions for our customers becomes very difficult. You find that a lot of the experiences that we deliver for our customers have to be agile enough in terms of responding to customer requirements and being providing personalized based on the kind of customer you have. So you have to be able to personalize Anita's customer experience, Martin's customer experience, and for that, then the technology that is underlying has to be agile enough for that kind of agility. And if you look at a lot of the front runners, and I like to refer to the challenger banks, especially in Europe, where they are very in terms of the technology. And if you look at cases like Netflix, Spotify, I'm sure you've never seen an upgrade of Netflix, but they're able to make changes very seamlessly for their customers. They're able to personalize experiences for their customers depending on your interest, etc. But that is really supported by the back end technology.
Okay.
So I think this is one of the pitfalls that a lot of us have to overcome to be able to deliver the right customer experience in this digital age.
Well, thank you. So I think, yeah, that customization and creating that elegant user experience where everything just works seamlessly. I'm getting the hurry up here that we're a bit pressed for time. So I'm going to just move on to Martin. Within 10, 15, 20 seconds, can you tell us what you think the considerations and pitfalls are?
Thanks, Moses.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So very quickly, I think just to echo some of the things Anita mentioned, is this transition from systems of record, the legacy systems we've traditionally had, even in government, to systems of engagement. Where you need more flexible, engaging, interactive experiences for your primary customers. And I think that transition presents a big challenge. I mean, for us in government, one of the key challenges is skills and capabilities to build this. But I think that also creates opportunities for partnerships with private sector, around this area. I think overall, one of the main challenges will also be to educate the leadership and to make them digital savvy so that, we can create that cognitive capacity within, the decision makers on, that will then provide support for many of these initiatives.
Thanks.
Thanks
You so much, Martin. We're really out of time, so apologies for that. Winnie, literally in a few words, challenges, considerations, and then Ian also, you can give us the same very briefly, very quickly, and then we can wrap up the session.
Okay. The pitfalls, I would say, I've experienced on this is things to do with getting the user requirements right, transferring these user requirements to the vendors that you're working with, and ensuring that there is resistance to change when it comes to the adoption of the new system is not there, is seamless. So most of the things is matching up with what matching up the expectation with the deliverable.
Just aligning the two parties. Okay. And then lastly, Ian, very briefly, any thoughts around considerations, challenges, and pitfalls?
Definitely. Very, very brief. Ultimately, the technology is there. We can make use of the technology and we can embrace the technology. One of the biggest pitfalls is the human component, how we survive in this digital world with the quick change of online constantly, and how we actually, if we're not seeing each other, the whites of each other's eyes, and not interfacing, doing the handshake, how your mental capability is going to move forward. I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Ian. So Ian, Martin, Winnie, and Anita, thank you so much for your contributions. I'm sure as the audience, you found this extremely useful and engaging. And panel, I'm so grateful for your contributions to making this an exceptional conversation really around how the customer experience is evolving from a digital perspective. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hi. I'm pleased that you made it to come and watch this keynote address. I am Masi Ndegwa, based here in Nairobi, and a proud Kenyan citizen. Proud because I see a lot of effort and development that we are making in terms of the stride we're taking in advancing technology in this region. And today I'll be speaking to you about exactly that. How are we leveraging innovation to improve operational efficiency? And to do this, I've had to reflect a little bit about what the world was before technology. And I really cannot actually be able to go back that far in trying to figure out how we actually coped or managed to do a lot. And I think a lot of you can relate to this. When you think about something as simple as a mobile device, for instance, it is something that a lot of us did very well without. I mean, we still had our connections with one another. We still had a lot of conversations and communication. But now with something like as small and as tech can get, as a mobile device, for example, we have seen our lives change almost entirely to relying on this device a lot of times in everything that we do. And I'm giving the example of a mobile device because I think everybody, at least everybody, I don't want to make the assumption that everybody can, but at least a lot of you can relate to what I'm talking about in terms of how digital, adoption of digital transformation can change basically how we operationalize issues or even our own lives. And so I'm thinking about a number of things. First, how quickly we have adopted and how steadily we have also embraced digital transformation. And I'm wondering to myself as I'm thinking about what to share with you today in terms of why is this the case? And I think it is the case because digital transformation has brought us solutions to real world problems or challenges that we've had in the past in trying to get connected as quickly as we can be, in trying to get convenience in terms of, being able to get the things we want or, delivering messages or getting from one point to the other. And I think it is those little things that have made the embracing of technology, particularly digital technology, to move as fast and as steadily as it has done in the last 20 plus years. And so I'm interested to share maybe a little bit about my own experiences currently in my role as the head of public policy for the Eastern Horn of Africa at Facebook, and also a bit about the at least the learnings I've had in my previous experiences in the mobile world, previously having worked with the mobile network operator here in Kenya, as well as an association of mobile operators globally. And so tech for me has always surrounded my life and at least my adult life. And I've found that the passion with which I pursue tech related issues is driven really by the fascination every day of how much tech changes and evolves and has become super dynamic and integral to everything that we do as a people. When I think about the pandemic that we have been in so far since earlier this year, and looking at tech itself and how tech has been central in doing a number of things. Three, at least in mind, tech has been able to empower people, empower, for example, businesses that previously had only operated within a brick and mortar sort of setup, and have now had to rely or transform to using digital tools to be able to access their customers, have had to learn how to innovate around using digital to place information around what they're doing. Even simple things like a restaurant making their customers know that they're now open are things that we have seen happen during this pandemic, especially. If you think about schools and children and education, I think a lot of parents were thrust into this world of using being in virtual online, the virtual learning environments for some children. Not all children obviously have had the privilege of being able to experience that, but a lot of children have had that experience in this time of a pandemic, all enabled by the presence of a device. And then when I think about some of the fun things we saw, for example, during this pandemic, that helped us to go through some of the worst times in this season, just people being able to connect with their creative artists. We've seen DJs throw entire parties online that people attended from their own houses, being able to get entertained without having to move from where they were to where they needed to be to enjoy themselves. So they could do this within their homes. And we've seen a lot of this happen. So empowerment is one of the things that I think during this pandemic we can squarely say that digital has been able to facilitate. The second thing that comes to mind for me is information. When I think about Facebook, for example, or the company I work for, at the beginning of this crisis, we had a huge challenge as a people, and this was a challenge we faced across the world, and I'm talking about us as citizens of the world, to know what is this corona, what is COVID-19, what are these symptoms we're hearing of, where is the truth when it comes to corona, what are the symptoms of it, where can one get tested, who knows anything about this pandemic. And a lot of governments, working very closely with World Health Organizations, were trying as much as possible to place information, accurate information, in the hands of people, to make sure that people would not be anxious, would not panic, would be aware of what they needed to know in good time so that they could take the actions they needed to take. And so digital platforms, for example, such as ours, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and others, became central to making sure that we landed the right messaging from reliable and authentic sources to people so that they would know where to look. And I found that this is not unique to us. There's many other organizations that had gone to this level of making sure that working very closely with government, they facilitated that kind of access for people to see and learn and be aware. So the point I'm making here is that the information piece, being able to inform, is a very strong thing that we see coming through from digital technology. And then the last thing that I would say on the point of the role that I see tech playing or has played within this pandemic season is also just connecting people. I gave the example earlier of people being in their sitting rooms or homes and being able to participate in an event. We've seen a lot of webinars. I think a lot of those who have smart devices or have access to internet have received at least invitations to one or two trainings or webinars on varying topics. A lot of people have transformed themselves to using digital platforms to still continue facilitating capacity building trainings or whatever it is that they're about, to make sure that the tempo is not lost in reaching people with information. And so I think people have connected more. We continue to connect even now using these platforms, and I think tech has been central in making sure that that happened, particularly during the time that there was lockdowns. For example, in the case of Kenya, there's still lockdowns in many countries where this pandemic has now taken a new wave, a second phase that is escalating. And we see that through digital platforms or digital devices, you're able to stay connected to your loved ones and so on. So I feel that tech has played a really key role in this, and operationally we're able to continue moving forward to a degree as normal as it can be. When I think about the role of innovation, for instance, in enhancing business opportunities or just businesses overall, again, I'm reminded and very privileged to be working for Facebook, to be honest, because I see all these different angles and dynamics to tech playing out. And thankfully for the company I work for, all of these aspects tend to be very integral in what we do and what we're committed to. And I see, for example, when I think about small businesses, in this case of pandemic, actually, for example, we have seen a lot of small businesses take up presence online to make sure that they stay connected to their customers, for example, that they have new ways of advertising their services and products, and reaching new markets, really, even beyond the markets that they had access to previously from their businesses, wherever they operated. And so thinking about that role of innovation, I see that number one, we have technology has been able to help businesses solve real-world solutions, real-world problems, provide solutions to those problems. If you think about a feature that we have, for example, currently at Facebook that we just recently rolled out actually in Kenya, sometime mid this year, the blood donation tool, you're able, at the click of the button to be able to let the government of Kenya or the Blood Transfusion Center, for example, know that you're interested to donate blood in case of a crisis. And as a result, we have hundreds of thousands of people who have been able to register themselves on this tool and saying, I would love to be a regular donor for a blood donor. And this is a project that we did, for example, we've done in many markets, but in Kenya we did it in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. And when you think about the kind of problem it solves, we have had many instances, and I think many of us may relate to the challenge we've seen in the past where you have a loved one who has maybe been involved in an accident or for whatever reason needs blood, but then there is no blood. Appeals on radio and everywhere to ask for blood donations, for instance. And we find that it is very stressful at that point when you need this blood, trying to find people who can give you or donate blood to serve the need that you have. And so having features like this helps to be able to have ready blood banks that can produce or bridge that gap when it is needed. And so I see that this, again, tech is very central in making sure that these things can be done. When I think about situations of conflict where families are displaced or separated from one another, again, with tech, it becomes very easy for them to find one another because, if they have access to some form of device to, the internet, it becomes easy to connect them back to one another. We've been able to do this, for example, as a company in various conflict situations and even natural disasters like hurricanes and so on, and being able to connect people or find, to just declare themselves safe so that everybody knows that is the situation. And so I think that solving real world problems or issues is a key factor that innovation has played and continues to play within businesses. The ease with which today you can buy things online. If you think about how chaotic it was, I remember back in the day when I was younger and I wanted to buy things that I saw, whether they were designer items or things that you saw online being sold in stores in the UK or whatever. It was so complicated. You needed to find a relative that either lived there or had access, was going to be coming home maybe in December to agree to carry the item alongside whatever else they had in their bags. And this was so complicated because if you didn't have a relative or didn't know anyone, you basically would never have things from abroad, quote unquote. And with the perceptions we had of what abroad things look like, so when I think about how easy e-commerce has become, for example, for anyone to be able, from the comfort of their home, for the comfort of their office or wherever they are, even as you're walking on the streets, to be able to order things online, pay for them and have them delivered right to where you are. All these things are enabled by the fact that we have technology and they have come from innovation around tech. And so it's exciting to see that tech is actually playing a real role in making sure that this continues to be so, that we have more operational efficiency, that businesses are able to access new markets and new people and be able to achieve the goals that they want. The other area I think, or role I would say innovation has played within enhancing business operational efficiency is in the area of simplifying and making easy the operations themselves. I think I've just given an example of how easy now it is to order things and buy and sell goods on platforms. It is the case everywhere. I think that example is well expounded. Lastly, I think it also gives the opportunity for business to amplify or maximize on opportunities that exist. The case example of having access to customers we previously had no access to is one classic example. But over and above that is just the fact that people then get to see businesses differently when they are presented online. I think the flip side of that is that the people who are able to really market their businesses online or oversell an idea can do so. But then at the same time, I think a lot of businesses are legit and are trying to do the right thing. And you will see that this then becomes much easier because of tech. And you find that then the businesses become are able to exceed their previous, to scale even bigger heights than they have in the past. So thinking about all of these things, we cannot hesitate to ask ourselves, what does the future look like when we're talking about tech? What is the future of digital transformation? And for me, from my perspective as Mercy, I think three things again. Number one, I think the future of digital transformation will continue to be integration of different sectors, integration of different people, and integration, just more of integration. There will be, I think, for example, I was talking earlier about the mobile device, but I think in not a long time from now, and we're already seeing some of those developments in some markets, many screens will be a device. Like a door could be a device. Your glasses could be a device. You don't have to be restricted to a mobile device, for example. And so I think there'll be more integration. We are seeing already integration of tech with development. We see integration of tech to do good, to make sure that you can be able to advance good things. I gave the example of people being able to find one another in times of crisis. but there are many other developments that are being layered on top of tech, and all of these are integrations that we'll continue to see in the future. I think we also continue to see tech shaping how we do things, continue to take to be front and center in shaping the way people interact, in shaping conversations, in shaping policies, in shaping the future of everything that we do. So tech, I think, will continue to be an integral part of our lives, really. And lastly, I think there will be tech will continue to preserve as well. If you think about the past and the fact that a lot of things were manual, with the digital transformation age, we are able to actually have a lot of this content still available should one wish to retain that information online. And so I think it will help us to preserve and tell a better story of what it looked like and what it is now, the before and after kind of picture. Tech will be able to do that. But I cannot talk about these future things without wondering, what then do we need to do to make sure that we achieve all of them, integration, to be able to shape our lives better and to be able to preserve things. I think it'll be a number of things. Number one, we'll need to have a more consultative ecosystem, one that allows us to agree or to talk around what we want, the policy and regulatory frameworks, for example, that determine how this ecosystem thrives, to be determined within the industry themselves, so intra-industry and then inter-industry, but over and above that, between various stakeholders, whether it be with government, civil society, basically bringing everybody on the table that is relevant to whatever the issue would be, to have a say about how we would want this ecosystem to play out. But also, more importantly, we would have to be more transparent, because remember, if we're integrating more and more, it will be important for users of these platforms, or users of devices, or users of whatever tech, to be able to, for example, report an issue that they have on the experiences that they have with ease, and it's got to be something that can be done with ease. They need to be able to determine how they want to be treated with regards to that tech, how they to share about how their experience has been so far. I think it would need also to require for there to be more transparency also around how they, we use or interact with information that we have of users and so on, and also just basic things about providing basic avenues for interaction with the customer or the users. I think lastly, there would need to be like a really thorough, and we see a lot of work that's been done in this, but a really thorough oversight role being played by those who are in the space of internet governance, for example, or whatever structures are already put in place to ensure that there is proper governance structures when it comes to the use of tech. So I think this conversation is simply just sharing from my own experience of what I think around how to leverage innovation for operational efficiency. But happy to have future conversations with those who are interested to explore more of areas that may have missed out, or to build up on more on the areas that I've shared. But thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that you found this useful.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mercy, for taking us through that wonderful session. We have totally enjoyed it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is CIO 100 Symposium and Awards, and we are coming to you live from CIO TV. We have had such a fantastic session from Mercy, and also to the panel discussion that was being led and moderated by Moses Kemibaro. That was a fantastic session. Thank you so much, and thank you for engaging us with that amazing panel. It was such a nice blend, such a nice mix of a panelist. All right, and also now we want to go into another panel discussion where we're going to discuss strategies for CIOs and solution providers. And to moderate this particular session and also to invite the panelists, this is the Director of Programs, Africa Youth Commission. This is a gentleman who came up with a wonderful platform that was able to help the lawyers to plug in and also just to exchange ideas. And because of that, he was also the top 100 CIO in 2014. He's a gentleman who is passionate about classy cars. He's a man of class, and he's a man of passion, and he's someone that I respect. This is none other than Keith Andere. And after the panel discussion, we are going to go through an interesting discussion where the topic is going to be on where are we and where do we go from here. It actually sounds like a song. Where do we go from here? But I believe the one who's going to take us through this particular discussion, he is not going to sing. This is going to be the CIO of MultiChoice who is going to take us through that particular topic. Where are we and where do we go from here? All right. So over to the classy man who loves technology and who is an ethical hacker. This is none other than Keith Andere, who is going to take us through this particular panel discussion. Welcome once again to CIO TV. We are glad to have you, and let's stay engaged and let's learn from each other. Welcome, and my name is Ian Moirore.
Thank you and welcome to the third panel of the CIO 100 Symposium. My name is Keith Andere and I'm going to be your moderator. I hope that we can have a very inclusive conversation with my panelists on this very important topic on strategies and for CIOs and solution providers. What are the lessons from the pandemic? With me, I'm going to be joined by amazing panelists, four of them. Wambui Mbesa from CIO Intersoft, Robert Karoki from CIO Chai Circle, Peter Kanda from Gertrude Hospital as the CIO, and Imran, Country Manager from Fortinet. Thank you so much. Within this session, we are going to look at some of the guiding conversations that these amazing panelists are going to break it down and share some of the experiences, share some of the challenges, and share some of the strategies going forward. And just to break out this session, the value-driven innovation has been very critical and more as enterprises wrestle in changing and challenging patterns as a result of COVID-19. How have CIOs adjusted to the battle ready during this global crisis of COVID-19? How have they co-worked with solution providers? With nearly 100% of staff working from home, as is the norm now, how are CIOs co-working with solution providers to build resistance and resilience towards the impact of COVID-19 pandemic? To what extent has there been demand for digital services? What are the gaps? And what is the way forward for enterprises? So very quickly, I'll just allow my panelists to introduce themselves. I'll start with the ladies first. So the lady in the room, Wambui from Intersoft, please, you have a minute or less to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Keith. My name is Wambui Mbesa. I am the CEO of Intersoft International East Africa. We are an IT solutions and services company, giving solutions to various niche sectors, banking and financial services sector, as well as public sector, where we give solutions for, revenue management, health insurance, and I'm really glad to be here today.
Thank you very much, Wambui, and we're looking forward to looking at your perspectives. Next, we have Robert, the CIO from Chai Circle. Robert, if you were to tweet your introduction, how would you do it in 160 characters?
Thank you, Keith. My name is Robert Karaoke, CIO Chai Circle. Chai Circle is working with farmers in the tea sector and anybody who is affiliated to the tea sector, from the brokers to the KTDA employees. And of course, because of the common bond, we also deal with business people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Short, sweet, and precise. Peter, the CIO from Gertrude's Hospital.
My name is Peter Kanda. I'm the CIO for Gertrude Children's Hospital. Gertrude Children's Hospital is the largest pediatric children's hospital in Eastern Africa. We've been in existence for the last 75 years, and we have 16 sites spread across the country. That's Nairobi and Mombasa. We're also the largest children's hospital in Africa in terms of numbers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Imran.
Thank you, Keith, for moderating our session today. To the panelists, pleasure to be on board with you here today. So my name is Imran Chaudhry. I'm responsible for the Fortinet business in East Africa. And we are one of the leading security brands in the market today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my panelists and members and audience. We look forward to also your contribution to this panel. Follow us on Twitter, on CIO East Africa, and engage with us and share your perspective and bring in your comments, because we'll be opening up this session for your interactions and to give comments from you. So we'll want to just get some reflections from our panelists, again, in the order through which we have introduced ourselves. We'll give ourselves about 5 minutes or 3 minutes each, if you can, so that we can have another round later to just give us your perspective. Since COVID-19, what has been your experience? Have there been demand for digital services for you? How have you done to copy it? What has been the challenge? But most importantly, what is the way forward? What strategies can you recommend to other CIOs who are watching us? Please, let's start with Wambui. You have the floor and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Keith. We as a company are a solution, provider, and the context that we find ourselves in right now is that the world in the last few years, not just because of the pandemic, but in the last few years, have been in this stage we call the VUCA stage. The VUCA state, which means volatile for V, uncertain for U, complex for the C, and ambiguous for the A, so VUCA state. And all this is being driven by disruption. So as much as COVID-19 was not anticipated and caught the global economy, sort of unawares, this digital transformation has been happening, throughout the last few years. I mean, actually not few years, probably 10 years and more. And so you find technological trends such as cloud and social and mobile and now the digital transformation of the digital economy were not new. So the problem with the CIOs, or let me say even the service providers and the organizations, is that they were dragging their feet and were not decisively, had not decisively resolved to move fast and adopt, and get into the digital transformation bandwagon. So what the pandemic then did was to accelerate this digital transformation. It was already happening. And the pandemic then was a tipping point that augmented the urgency for the adoption of these trends. So the lessons that we have learned as a service provider and working with the CEOs in the market is that innovation is the one thing that we must always, put at the top. If there's one thing we have to do is just be innovative. So because innovation is about two things. It's about agility and it's about adoption. If you don't, if you're not agile, nimble, if you don't adopt, then you're going to be left out. You're not going to make it. So this is a key thing that I got out from we got out of a lesson from this pandemic. But the other thing, the mindset shift. Revolutionary collaborative mindset is very, very important in this post-pandemic era, and even as you go with the digital transformation. In the past, if you remember the past, I'm just meaning before the pandemic, just a few months ago, if you wanted to start a project, what would the customer tell you? I need the team here on site. They must be here on site. I have to see them. And if you had to do demos, for example, they would insist you'll lose points in the demo if you're not on site. I'm sure my friends from the SACO and the hospital, have been here. So, but what happened today? We know that you can kick off a project without physical team being on site. You can actually take a project live without the physical team being on site. So a lot of things have changed. The other thing is actually you find that the pandemic accelerated because of the lockdowns and the social distancing. CIOs understanding that now collaboration and getting the collaboration tools are very important. So, the Zoom and the Teams and Slack and so on. Because it's not just about customers being served better, because of course their culture, their customer journey has changed as a result of the pandemic. There is need for boards to continue meeting so that they can, guide the organization. There is need for employees and teams to continue to collaborate. So
Absolutely.
again, this
I'll
was
come back to you on that thought, yeah, just so you can finish on it.
Yes,
But I think you're bringing out very important perspectives. The perspective of what we are calling now the COVID accelerated digital transformation. COVID. And this is very important. That the COVID has provided us with an opportunity to accelerate those transformations that we've been seeing in the last decade. That preparation that we have been working on. And I think right now we want to take perspective from our next panelist, Robert, the CIO from Chai Sacco, and give us, some of these perspectives, just probably speaking about some of the processes that have been happening within that sector and broadly as a CIO. Please, you have the floor, and let's try and keep it within 3 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. And once again, I want to talk on behalf of a lot of the sector. I think CIOs in general.
Robert, we can't quite hear you. Can you speak louder a bit?
And now?
Much better, thanks.
Okay, I'm saying I wish to speak on behalf of all the CIOs and specifically the SACCO. I wish COVID had given all of us a date, like during this time I'll come. Because then people could have prepared. But on my behalf as the CIO Chai Sacco, what happened is a process that had started a while ago, from the infrastructure all the way to the systems that when COVID hit, we had to fall back to them. I'll start by all our staff, almost all of them have laptops, which provides, for example, the portability in terms of to work from home. So by the time COVID hit, it's not the time we went to look for laptops for our staff to operate from. Then I remember we had already done an infrastructure whereby all our services are centrally located. So branches and all the other offices we have countrywide connect to the central location. And on that central location, we have failovers in terms of if one server goes down, there is another server that picks. So, as you know, systems fail. That was able to come through for us. I'll say to the point of even having internet that is shared, telephony that you can be able to put on your laptop as a soft phone, that when members call, they don't differentiate that, this guy is working from home, because you are able to receive your phone the normal way you do normally. I remember at some point I had implemented the use of Office 365, which comes with things like Teams. Initially, of course, there was resistance that, you are taking us to a system that is expensive, the licensing is not cheap. But when COVID hit, that is not the time I went to my board for approval to get the license, because we already had that service in operation. So I'm saying some of the things that helped Chai Sacco, or helped me as the CIO Chai Sacco, to go through the process without a lot of hitches, was the infrastructure that we had already put in place before COVID. Now, how did COVID impact us? As much as the infrastructure was there, Keith, we ended up having to train our staff. For example, this is how you connect to the VPN from home. And once you connect, this is how you set up your phone, this is how you access the system, this is how you respond to those things. The more difficult part was the directors, because the directors are not part of the staff, so we had also to introduce them to the use of virtual environment like meetings. Directors meet on a regular basis. So initially we had to get them to connect from their phones. Where it was not possible, we invited providers to provide Wi-Fi in their homes, and that helped a lot in terms of providing those services without any downtime.
Thank you very much for, first of all, breaking and giving your perspectives and experiences and what it has been like for you in terms of tapping on the opportunities within infrastructural setup, so that you can tap on the digital opportunities within the SACCO itself. But you mentioned some of key great points, the ability to actually be prepared, in terms of having certain infrastructures. And this speaks to a lot of issues, the issue of last mile connectivity. Do we have infrastructure set up to the last mile to allow service provision, to the very last end? I think right now we would like to hear the perspective from Gertrude Hospital. What has been their experience? Has there been demand for digital enabled medical services, and how have they been able to cope up with all this social distancing and everybody trying to get medication from home? And it is my humble pleasure to introduce Peter to come and give us his perspective.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you for that. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for us as Gertrude Children's Hospital, we've always been in a digital transformation journey, because you always have to be at the forefront of adopting technology. And because of that, it created an enabling environment for us as an organization, and an environment that is secure, that is accessible, that is effective, that is also agile. I know we've worked with one of the panelists here, Imran, to deploy some of the solutions that has made it secure and accessible to our users in different places. We also provided collaboration tools within the hospital, and with these tools, people could connect from very many different places. But for us, we're in the business of providing healthcare. So our number one priority is our patients. And a lot of our patients were disrupted because of some of the things that were set up, e.g., when curfew was when the curfew was announced, we had to find different models, because we realized that some of our patients could not be able to travel to see us, sometimes in the middle of the night. And using some of the tools that I've mentioned, we were able to come up with models that were able to serve our customers. We've been able to have our doctors operate from the comfort of their homes and to see patients. We've been able to provide centers where the patients can be able to, e.g., our Mombasa clinic. So without the need of them traveling all the way to Nairobi to see a specialist, we're able to provide a center where they could be able to access services. We're also able to come up with models that were very effective with engaging third party. We work closely with insurance companies. So we were able to move some of the insurance companies to become paperless. Probably I'll mention one or two, like Jubilee, they went paperless with us. And because of that, it was a seamless process, and we were able to continue giving services to our patients. I'll just make a note. Our telemedicine services has been able to see hundreds of patients during this time of COVID, and we try to make it as easily accessible as possible, and without disrupting how our patients access that. Thank you, Keith.
No, thank you so much, Peter, for sharing some of your perspectives and how you've been able to seamlessly transition, from physical enabled medical service provision to digital enabled service provision within the medical sector. And I'm very curious to also look at response from your users, in this case, the patients, what has been the adoption level. But we'll come back to that. For now, I am interested to listen to the last but not least panelist today, Imran, to give us some perspective. I think he stands at a very unique pedestal today, given that he's not only a service provider, but he's a service provider at the center of our topic and conversations that all of you have talked about, the issue of security, the issue of enterprise security, the issue of VPN, the issue of just ensuring that data protection is also guaranteed, that privacy is also guaranteed. And I'd like to hear from him what has been experienced, what has been the demand for security services, even when we are talking about digital meetings and virtual meetings, and all this kind of conversation speaks to right what he does. I'd not want to preempt, but allow him to give us our perspective. Imran, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. It's interesting to hear all the perspectives from everyone on the panel today. So as Fortinet, we did not see a drop in cybercrime. As a matter of fact, during the pandemic, we've seen an increase in cyber threat and cyber actors out there. So this simply tells you that the pandemic has brought a permanent change in our lifestyle. And this is what cyber criminals are now taking advantage of. This permanent change in lifestyle is all about work from X, is what I like to call it. So X for me means work from anywhere. You can work from your vehicle, from your coffee shop, from the office, or from a standby location, or from your home. So cyber criminals now know that you can actually connect back to your business from any location that you have internet connectivity. Now, COVID and the new pandemic has led businesses to look at how they can adopt agility. And all of a sudden, this agility now is about new technologies, the cloud, adoption of artificial intelligence, automation, robotics, the introduction of Internet of Things, simply to ensure that the business does not drop down and start losing its business or its customers or its market share. However, with this new pandemic, we've seen CIOs looking at a number of new things. And the first thing that CIOs, CTOs, CISOs are looking at is due diligence. So they're all starting to focus more on cybersecurity. Previously, cybersecurity was a second or a third discussion in most technology discussions with the C-level. But all of a sudden, during the pandemic window, cybersecurity now has become the top discussion with the C-level. So leaders and CIOs are now looking to move their businesses faster on the digital innovation journey. As my colleagues have rightly put it, many of us have already started that journey, but the pandemic has now just accelerated it a bit faster. And now everyone is looking at how they're going to be adopting new technologies to ensure that their transformation is quicker, faster, more efficient, and can withstand the next pandemic, version 20, for example. Leaders are now starting to look at their businesses in a different way. They're looking at the business as a technology business rather than a brick and mortar. So we're seeing a significant shift in thinking from the leadership, from the C-level, from the CISOs, from the CIO, the CTO. They're starting to look at the business as a technology center rather than a brick and mortar where customers walk in and transact with them. So when I sit at the C-level, I always tell them, during pandemic, many of your branches were shut down. Banks were shutting branches next to you. But surprisingly, none of us in Kenya raised a concern. Why are the banks closing the branches? And we were all busy living our lives, buying stuff. Glovo was delivering. Everything was running without a physical branch being in place for you to go and withdraw money. So digital innovation is here, like my colleagues on the panel rightly put it. It took off a long time ago, accelerated by the pandemic, and it's also being driven largely by user devices. So users are now pushing organizations to adopt innovation or be left behind. So these users now have multiple devices. So I'm sure everyone on this panel has nothing less than 3 devices. Or the audience in this forum today, everyone carries a minimum of 3 devices, and all these 3 devices at any one time are constantly connecting back to the organization, receiving and sending data. Now, all of this is leading to a major cyber risk. The C-level business leaders are now looking at cybersecurity as a huge risk and as a showstopper to their innovation, and now are looking at how digital innovation and cybersecurity can walk hand in hand to ensure that businesses adopt the right strategy on innovation and can secure that innovation as they go forward. Now, at Fortinet, we've been working with a lot of leaders across East Africa of late around how can we ensure that their journey to this digital space, the cloud, the AI, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, all of that can be rolled out with a mouse click, but is secure end to end. So, as one of the market leaders in cybersecurity, we run some very interesting C-level workshops that introduce security with innovation and allow business leaders to see where they're going to be in the next 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Imran. I think that was such a powerful way of closing, that we need to change our mind shift, from security as a supporting aspect, but bring cybersecurity to the board level and to the C-suite level as a strategic direction through which we can achieve digital transformation by allowing cybersecurity and digital transformation and digital adoption to work hand in hand to achieve digital resilience and cybersecurity resilience that is needed during these interesting times of COVID-accelerated digital transformation, CALDIT as we call it. I want to come back to Wambui, and I know we are pressed of time. We have about 10 minutes to do, to allow her finish her thought, and as she completes her thought, I want us to wrap this together and have our closing remarks onto it. But within it, I would really like to bring out what are the next steps? What are the next strategies? What would you tell the CIOs within the audience room in terms of what to adopt? And if there are any SMEs and small entities that are looking to adopt technology but do not have the capacity, of CIOs, what would you tell them? How can they also tap onto these opportunities? Wambui, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. And it's just quite interesting to listen to my panelist colleagues. Very insightful. Just go to the heart of every organization. Every organization lives to enhance the experience of their customer, because the customer is at the heart of why they do exist. And what the pandemic forced us to do is to actually change and adapt our business processes in terms of vision, because the customer circumstances changed and the behavior of the customer also changed. So, interest of, for example, at the heart of our solutions is actually the customer. Whether we are giving a solution to a core banking solution to a SACCO or a bank, or we are deploying, a social security solution for the government. The customer journeys did change, and so what the CIOs then need to do is to be at the forefront of driving this adoption of process digitization. It's very, very important. But one of the other things I learned even from this pandemic is it has actually shown us that working from home is doable. And if we apply that well, we could enhance, this elusive work-life balance that many of us, keep talking about. But my final thoughts, my closing thoughts would be as follows. As the CIOs are embracing these new technological advances and so on, they shouldn't do this, quickly in terms of without a plan, because the pitfalls are very many. So it's critical to have a well-articulated strategy in order to avoid these pitfalls, Just ensure the basics are there. Security is very, very important. Ensure that you work with a security expert. Number two is, influence the organization culture, from a CIO point of view, because if the organization culture is still the old culture where decision-making is top-down, you will also not be able to achieve your mandate as a CIO. So instead of looking at it just from an IT point of view, how can the CIO influence decision-making, across the entire organization?
Thank you so much, Wambui.
able to drive the agenda.
Thank you so much. We are really pressed out of time, and I want us to, to just get the last comments from all of the panelists. So please, let's just make it a bit shorter as you bring down your key closing remarks. Robert, Peter, and Imran, please let's try and have it within 1 minute. If anybody was to tweet about your session today, what is the last closing remark to them? Robert, please.
Keith, thank you. I want just to say two things. Number one, COVID coming has really changed the way our members operate, the way we operate ourselves. I remember we were the first circle to do an online ADM where we got all our members on and, elected officials and something like that.
Okay.
Now people benchmark
Robert,
with us.
I just want
Yes.
you to leave it at that point. We are really pressed out of time. And to allow just the other panelists, please just allow us to move to the next panelist. Peter and Imran, make it short. We have less than a minute. Let's close this on time.
For me, I will just say two things. One, as a CIO who is out there, kindly adopt agile technologies so that you can be able to adapt to this dynamic environment. Lastly, have digital enabled workflows. That means you will not be able to disrupt your processes as much. That's it for me. Back to you, Keith.
Thank you so much, Peter. Last and not least, Imran, your powerful closing.
Thank you. So for me, I'd say digital innovation is to where we're going as a global economy. However, as a business leader, your priority should be how secure is your digital platform, because that's where your brand is going to reside. That's where your customers are going to be doing business with you, and you'll be having your upstream and downstream providers connecting back to you on your digital platforms. There is no stopping digital innovation now. It's here. It's moving. Everyone's got to adopt it. Small, medium, large enterprises. SOHO, small office, home office. But do please keep in mind that when you adopt digital transformation, cybersecurity is extremely critical to your success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Viewers, you've heard it. Be agile, adopt, strategize, plan, and have security by designs. We have not had enough time, but we can have this conversation keep going on, and we are glad to have very amazing panelists who've been able to help us devour this subject, and thank you very much. My name remains Keith Andere, and I have been your moderator, and looking forward to future and engaging sessions during this CIO 100. Thank you very much. And thank you to the panelists. You did amazing. Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a platform that provides solutions to our clients, to our partners, and also to the fellow delegates. And we are glad to have you here at the CIO 100 Symposium and Awards. This is CIO TV. Thank you so much, Keith Andere, the classy man, for taking us through that particular session. And we also appreciate the panelists for just a wonderful, wonderful engagement. So up next is the CIO for MultiChoice. This is Francis Kamoyo. He is going to take us through the topic of where are we and where do we go from here. It's important for us to understand where we are currently are, and as we chart the way forward, he is going to guide us, he is going to lead us on where we need to go. Yes, it sounds like an old R&B song, and that's why I love that topic, but we are looking forward to that particular engagement and session that is going to be taken through by Francis Kamoyo. And then after that, we are going to have some very interesting case studies. And the first one will be re-engineering, revamping, and growing your market share. This is something that we all want to do, and to guide us through that is the CIO for Ketepa. This is Bernard Rono, followed by the topic One Stop Rafiki to Dire Business Challenges. And to take us through this is the CIO of Bidco. This is Alken Patel. And after that, we are going to have a discussion on transforming the health space. This is an area that we cannot overlook, and we definitely cannot leave. And the topic is going to be technology, is going to be guided by the technology and analytics manager at Jacaranda Health. This is none other than Jay Patel. Jay Patel, we're looking forward to that also case study. And our final discussion on the case studies, it's going to be discussing on digitizing the procurement. And this is going to be guided by, the ICT manager, Ketrako, and this is none other than David Karaoke. So we look forward to that particular engagement. And now lend us your ears as we go over to the one and only Francis Kamoyo to take us through the session of where are we and where do we go from here. Ladies, this is the one and only event that we've been looking forward to the entire year, and we're looking forward to this particular discussion. So stay engaged, stay tuned, have fun, and let's hear from you and also your comments on the same. This is CIO TV, and my name is Ian Moirore. Welcome once again. Was there a change in
Hello, my name is Francis Kamuyu, Senior IT Manager at MultiChoice Kenya, and I'm going to be taking you through this presentation on IoT. Where have we come from and where are we going? It's going to be a pretty fast presentation because I only have 10 minutes. And so we start. IoT, for those who may not know where it's used, this is a good slide to give you an idea. From personal devices attached to your body to the home, we're talking about home controllers, security systems, camera systems. We're talking about retail environments. You've heard of Amazon supermarket where you walk in and you walk out, no tellers. Offices, knowledge workers, etc. Energy management, Google is doing a lot of that. Factories, that's a big one. We're going to look at that later, and the opportunities there, and also hospitals and farms. We have work sites, vehicles. We all know about vehicles, self-driving vehicles, etc. And then smart cities, etc. So that should give you a good idea of what we are talking about. Now, in the recent past, if you look at 2019, what has happened in this space? Quite a lot. Just looking at the slide, even without going into the details, you notice some big names. You notice Huawei, Amazon, Microsoft, Microsoft again, Amazon, Siemens. That should tell you IoT is generating a lot of interests, even before you go into the details. Now, once you go into the details, and I would really encourage that you go through you look for the background research on all this. There's a lot going on in this space. So in 2019, you had Amazon announcing plans to launch 3,200 satellites for connectivity. Not specifically for IoT, but these will definitely be a big deal for IoT. Of course, we all heard about Huawei equipment getting blacklisted in the United States. They still made an 18% improvement in revenue, mostly support from China. And then around May, we have Microsoft publishing the IoT signals report, which I would recommend that everyone interested in IoT, this is the report you need to read. They found out a lot of things about IoT. They found that a third of all IoT projects, initiatives, die at proof of concept level because of two main things. We are going to look at that. And they found many other things. They found 97% of companies are worried about security in IoT, 47% are worried about lack of talent. We look at that a little bit more. VMware makes major acquisition and lays out Kubernetes strategy. Kubernetes, the big names, Google is not here, but yeah, it features. Samsara receives 300 million in Series F funding. That was the greatest. Microsoft announced general availability of Azure Sphere chip. This is a chip specifically for IoT. And then the 100th million ride on IoT connected scooters for Lime. Siemens makes environmental feature prominently. And then Ring from Amazon, which had a few other problems. So this is just 2019. There's a lot that's been going on, but I put this slide here so that we can see this is a very active area, and a lot is happening in this area. But what about before 2019? IoT started around 1999, around 2000, thereabout. Internet of Things. It wasn't called IoT then. IoT as a terminology came in much later. Then it was just radio frequency ID, RFID. It needed to wait for some advancements in technology. For example, IP version 6, RFID is still used, but IP version 6 it's one of the enablers of IoT. We have enough IP addresses in IP version 6 for every atom on the surface of the Earth and 100 times more. So yes. Wi-Fi, Ethernet, 2G, now we're talking about Thread, we're talking about LTE, Bluetooth, Edge, 4G, 5G, data science, Kubernetes. We had miniature PCs. Right now we're talking about specialized, minimalized modules. Before there were legacy systems, now it's over-the-counter components. No one thought about ethics then. Right now, regulatory agencies are starting to be very concerned about the security issues in IoT. UK is leading in that area. There is a standard called AllJoin, still not fully accepted across board, but at least standards are coming up. Before they were very expensive, now it's very low cost. Before you needed a lot of engineering skills. Now it's very specialized technician skills. Before it was more of a hobby. Now we are talking about automotive, logistics, media, wearables, global information systems, logistics, banking, utilities like smart meters, everything. Smartphones, smart cities. Yes, before, it was just about devices as a business model, sale of devices as a business model. Now, companies are selling preventative maintenance based on IoT. And a lot of customers are very interested in that. Before, obviously, it was just text. Now you're talking about video, audio, and text. Video and audio have brought in a lot of security issues. Before, it was just a few devices here and there. Now, half of the connected devices are IoT devices. They talk to each other. Current challenges, based on all that history, lack of industry standards, so devices don't talk to each other. One of the biggest issues with IoT is that most IoT devices cannot be patched. Once it is sold and installed on equipment, that's it. Yet, vulnerabilities are discovered every day. So that's a big, big challenge. Number 3, poor security governance and privacy design. A lot of these devices don't have encryption in transit or at rest. Default passwords are not changed. And this has compromised a lot, including Amazon Ring and a lot of other IoT solutions, which was pretty embarrassing. Poor backend design. There are people who are still not going to cloud yet. Cloud is mature and it has inexpensive offerings. Not leveraging machine learning, AI, and big data. So we have unscalable solutions. Not running a proof of concept. This is very, very important because it's been found, before it was about 60%, proof of concepts didn't lead on to full solutions. Now it's about a third of solutions don't go past proof of concept. And why? Because value is not realized and the solution is just too expensive. We need to move from the hype of IoT to application, and I think that's a big problem. And then not designing for data purging. Not all the data will be used. How are you going to make sure that it's deleted so that it doesn't take up bandwidth, it doesn't take up storage? So those are some of the challenges. Difficulty in predicting costs. Sometimes the best way to predict the cost of IoT is to run it for a month. Then unfortunately, some cloud offerings, they will give you a month free. So what happens beyond that? Then we have bandwidth costs, of course, and back-end management costs, especially skills shortage. So the big worries in summary, security, 97% are worried about security, lack of skills, and complexity. What to expect in future? Smart cities. We have several, London, San Francisco, the rest have started. Edge computing. This is pre-processing big data on location using edge servers before transmitting. That's going to save on storage. It's going to save on bandwidth costs. It's going to save on security if you have a smaller footprint. IIoT, that is industrial, that is IoT for the fourth industrial revolution. This is a combination of everything. It's the whole ecosystem, from sensors, networks, big data, AI, analytics, everything. And then the other thing we expect is use of AI for optimization. We've talked about this. Google is using machine learning to reduce power consumption in data centers. The big theme for IoT is IoT and the environment. Siemens supported Grand Force, a chocolate factory, to reduce power consumption by 20% and plans for a 50 billion liters of water saving using IoT and the AI. 5G, we all know about 5G. When it comes to IoT, it's going to be a marriage, a very, very good marriage. And then annual growth exceeding 24% up to 2026. And notice all the major players involved: Google, Cisco, Microsoft, Dell, and Facebook. And this is a good summary of where we expect the spending to be. And my advice is follow the money, not the hype. Notice factories, $1.2 trillion to $3.3 trillion. Yet we don't hear much about that. We hear a lot about, wearables and human, and that's also quite big, but it's not as big as factories. Retail environments, quite big, but the range is, depending on who is giving you the figures, that varies widely. Work sites, quite a bit, outside, and then cities and vehicles, and the home. The value of IoT impact, including consumer surplus, would be equivalent to about 11% of the world economy in 2025, according to the McKinsey report. And that's it from me. I didn't have a lot of time for this, so I hope in that time that we have looked at the history of where we've come from with IoT and where we are going and the challenges and how those challenges are being addressed. I hope you've taken away something. So the big things to remember: 5G, edge computing, AI. Those are the big determinants of success in IoT. Thank you very much.
Hi, CIO 100. My name is Bernard Rono. I'm the CIO at Kenya Tea Packers. Kenya is the leading black tea exporter to the world. I'm coming to you from our head office in Kericho. I'm in our state-of-the-art R&D lab. Very happy to discuss with you around revamping, re-engineering your market share. Big discussion. Irrespective of what industry you come from, whether you're in fintech or you come from the FMCG world that I am in, or the manufacturing world, irrespective of what products you deal with, market share is a big discussion in and out of the boardroom. We'll be looking at what are the factors that affect your market share. What's the role of CIO in growing the market share of the products you deal with? I'm lucky to come from the tea sector. You all know that tea has been the leading foreign exchange earner in Kenya. And obviously, Kenya Tea Packers is the leading tea packaging company in Kenya. I'm happy to be part of the KTDA group, and we are the tea value addition company within the KTDA group. Obviously, I work for the over 650,000 tea farmers in Kenya, and I'll be happy to run you through the next few slides on what the role of the CIO is in revamping, growing, and re-engineering the market share. Ketepa is your household brand. You've all interacted with our brands for the past 41 years. We say we've been refreshing Kenya for the past 41 years through different brands. And I'm very happy to discuss this very important topic around the market share. Obviously, our legacy brand has been the Faharia Kenya. It's been here for the past 41 years. And some of these brands have been added along the way as we perfected our art of blending tea. Now, these are the factors that influence your market share. In whatever product you deal with, your product quality comes top. If you have a poor product, if you have a product that doesn't speak volumes, then your market share obviously will take a hit. How good do you serve your customers after sales service? Definitely that's another big factor that would affect your market share. How good are your brands? Are they appealing? Are they available? Are they visible? That again has and speak volumes towards how good your brand and how fantastic your market share will be in the market. As I said, I'm coming to you from our modern R&D lab, and in tea, we talk innovation. They say if you don't innovate, you die. And so if you want to grow your market share, every company has got to invest in their R&D. We must take deliberate steps to master your innovation journey and bring in brands that would be award-winning and delight the customer. At Ketepa, we have mastered the art. Look, as a CIO and been here for the past 6 years, this discussion has been huge in our boardrooms. How do we leverage on Industry 4.0 technologies to grow our market share? Now, as a CIO, you've got to think around how to invest on these technologies in order to get insights of your trade and to ultimately grow your market share. And we are looking at digital media. We're looking at cloud computing, automation, IoT, big data. Do you have a CRM system? Are you on an ERP? Is it serving the purpose? Have you looked at blockchain, the power that comes with AI? And of course, with COVID, you obviously have got to think around e-commerce. How many FMCGs today trade online? And how has your customer experience been affected by the COVID season that we are on? Obviously, if you don't think around all these technologies, then today's disruption is COVID. No one knows what the next disruption will be. The bigger question will be, are you ready? And so Industry 4.0 technologies would definitely give you a head start in revamping your market share. Look, it's progress, right? It's work in progress. That's the common word in our boardrooms. And for the past 5 years, we've been leveraging on technology for efficiency, cost cutting, and e-commerce. But for the next 5 years, we are looking at using ICT as an enabler. How do you make sure that you have a nice cup of tea in the morning? How do you make sure that this company remains sustainable going into the future? Obviously, we've perfected the art the past 40 years, but look, every company would want to look at the next 60 years to make it 100. And so we've been able to invest in very key technologies that has helped us redefine our market share, right from the ERP, of course, your business intelligence tool, a fantastic fleet system. We are on Salesforce automation, and of course, we leverage on the cloud. Look, we are a gold supplier to Alibaba. That means we have access to the huge Chinese market. Apart from, of course, listing on Amazon and, of course, partnering with Carrefour on Jumia. And all this really has a way of influencing your market share. Look, if you're in the FMCG business, then if you run a fleet like we do, then the other question the CIOs of respective companies ought to ask themselves is, how good is your fleet management system? Or do you just have a tracking system? We've got to go beyond tracking and deliver more value to the business. So we have a fleet management system that has an IoT device, and it gives you huge data as your team runs along the trade. Very key to building your market share. E-commerce, you cannot underestimate the power of e-commerce. Since the first case was announced in Kenya, and the first case in Wuhan sometime last year in December, we've seen our e-commerce sales just take an upward trend. And this is not about to stop. Consumers are now realizing that I don't have to walk to the next shopping mall. I don't have to drive miles to pick my goods. I can actually have my goods delivered right at my doorstep. So if you're thinking market share and thinking about businesses, transforming businesses into the future, then you've got to think about strategic partnerships. Of course, we have a partnership with DHL. We have very good engagement with Amazon. As I said, we are a gold partner to Alibaba. We have our own e-commerce platform. So our consumers around the world, we've so far sold our teas to 43 countries, and we are able to ship them within 48 hours of receiving the order. And that has basically transformed the way we do business here. And this is not about to change, because as I said, today's disruption is COVID. Nobody knows what the next disruption will be. And so it's important to think around these technologies. Now, data is key to understanding your market. And so we were in descriptive analytics phase. We talked about diagnostic analytics, but now every business is talking about predictive analytics. If you live within Kenya, then I'm sure you've heard that there was trouble in Nakumatt, there was trouble in Uchumi, and the Tusky stories of all over today. Do you have systems that would be able to predict some of these customer trends? How do you safeguard your business against any loss? Through data analytics. And so we have invested in a sophisticated BI tool that is predictive in nature. And every business that seeks to retain, grow, revamp, and re-engineer the market share must think around the power of analytics. Obviously, if you have not embarked on your journey around analytics, I think now is the time, really. You think around analytics, it's a whole world. It's an unlimited view into the ocean. And so what's the guiding light? So we rely on the Gartner's quadrant that really ranks some of these softwares. This was released in February. And so whatever tool you use, whatever resource you're thinking of investing in, it's got to be a tool that adds more value to your business. Of course, bottom line is to make data more visible, data more intuitive, and data to help management basically make and gain new insights into your market. Because without these tools, then you have trouble dissecting and understanding your market. Look, they say you innovate or you perish. As I said, I'm coming to you from our R&D lab, and we innovate every day. So we have some new products that have come in the market. I'm sure some of you have tested our herbal infusions range. Our top seller has been Immunity because it's a perfect cup for this season. You've heard of the hexagonal magical sensational pack. That is the official GOK gift pack, really, for delegations that move out of the country. They carry with them the hexagonal magical pack. Of course, we've revamped the Ketepa Pride, and look, who thought that Kenya Tea Packers would be selling biscuits and waffles? Yes, it's part of diversification. And so if you want to grow your market share, you've got to think about innovating your products. You've got to innovate not only your products, but your engagement with your consumers. And so this is a very important pillar as you think around market share. Now, let me discuss with you a fantastic tool and product that we set it out as a journey the past 2 years. And this would be our biggest automation project, the Salesforce automation project. So this tool basically was structured to give us visibility, to give us insight, to manage our very complex workforce, and to assist us in gaining more insights in trade. These are some of the features that would enable you to track how well you're doing in trade, how well and how effective is your sales team, and how effective is your team that manages your customers. When you look at some of the efficiencies that some of these technologies come with, you're looking at the integration to your ERP for order processing, you're looking at automation of orders, you're looking at taking advantage of emerging technologies and looking at GPS systems to be able to help you map out your reach countrywide. You're looking at exceptional reports, you're looking at revamping your logistics operations. All these would be geared to building your market share. And I talk from a Ketepa perspective and looking at how some of these technologies have been able to add more value to the business. And I'm sure this story would be replicated across every industry you come from, whether you're in the service sector or whether you come from whatever industry you work with. They say customer is king. And so if the customer is happy and delighted, then you're able to grow your market share. Now, I would say, without a doubt, the next 10 years would be driven by Industry 4.0 technologies. But at the heart of every business, in my opinion, would be data analytics. And so if you haven't invested in sophisticated tools that would be able to dissect your complex data and make sense in your boardrooms, you're looking at access to a lot of data, real-time and nationwide reach, global reach. If you are an international company, 15% of what you produce is sold as exports. I would want to sit back and understand how am I doing in my global trade at the comfort of our seats. And so big data is coming in huge, because as you roll out these systems, every system gathers data and every data has to make sense. And so you have to think in terms of how to leverage on big data going into the future. And so if you're appraising your team, if you're looking at whether your product has an impact in the market, if you don't have a tool that tracks your market share, then that would be a good starting point. So it boils down to systems. And that's why there's a big discussion on how we are able to convert the chief information officer to chief innovation officer, because innovation is key, and all these tools is coming in with massive potential to the business. Look, I don't have to travel far and wide to understand how my market share is doing. So if you want to track your market share, the bigger question would be, how are you doing it now? Do you have a tool that you're able to track your share of shelf, your availability from the comfort of your seat? If you play in the fast moving consumer goods like we do, then it's a hard ball out there. If you don't delight the customer, then what happens is your share of shelf keep shrinking by the day. So we've invested in some fantastic technologies. I just took these screenshots about an hour ago, and this is basically my view of all the modern trade outlets countrywide, From these photos, I'm able to get a lot of insights. Product placements. Am I having the correct pricing? Am I having out of stock in any of the outlets? How is my share of shelf? Look, I'm able to monitor what competition is doing. So before my competitor launches a product the next day, I have it with me. And so you're able to respond to your market needs pretty fast. You can't separate the growth of market share. You can't separate business reengineering. You can't separate revamping your business objectives from technology. The day you delink technology from your business and corporate objectives is the day you begin going down. And so the bigger challenge to every CIO today is, how are the technologies, the initiatives that you're putting in place helping your company grow their market share? And look, if you grow your market share, you delight your customer. You have your happy customers and they taste your heritage and your quality from wherever they are. Irrespective of the cadre of your customers, the level of the understanding of your products, it boils down to, is your customer happy? That would be the magic to turning around your market share. From me, from Kericho, our head office, this has been an interesting discussion. Remember to revamp, to re-engineer, and to grow your market share every step of the way. And thank you very much. Wish you a great CIO weekend, and thank you very much. Please take a lot of Ketepa tea.
Hi everyone, thank you CIO East Africa. My name is Alkin Patel and I'm going to talk about the chatbot usage at Bitco Africa Limited. So I'm Chief Digital Officer at Bitco Africa Limited, and today's subject, as I mentioned, we are going to discuss about that how Bitco Africa is using the artificial intelligence chatbot for their customers. This is an agenda we have set for you. We'll start with company overview and end up with a question answer session. So let's go straight into the solution and how we have used the AI technology for FMCG company. Bitco Africa Limited, it's a known FMCG company in these regions, and our products have been including the various categories: edible oils, soaps, margarine, cooking fats, and recently we have also been producing beverages and other food products. We know that we've been producing your favorite brands, which is a Kimbo, Cowboy, Chipsy, Golden Fry, Lianto, and the rest of our brands. So we have a 50+ brand, and we are reaching to 20+ country into Africa. We are headquartered in Thika, but we do have a manufacturing facility at Uganda, Tanzania, and Madagascar. This is for an IT presentation and all the technology about it. So I would like to let the folks know that we are using SAP. We are using SAP, IBM, Microsoft, in-memory computing data, and all other Cisco, Sophos, HighJump, various other technologies. We've been using a local partner as well as the global partner for providing services for an IT. So I'm going to talk about that. The task which was been given by a business during this COVID time is that let's digitalize our customer experience. Let's digitalize our customer journey. And how do we use all the AI tools available in the market and we improve our customer experience? The scope was very clear that we do it for all the customers. Let's not build something which is only available in Kenya and not available for export. So the scope was very clear. It's all customers. We have chosen a partner for this project. We use the WhatsApp technology. Also, there's a company named Gupshup, QuickWorks, and for an RPA, we use the Automation Anywhere. When it comes to the technology, we use the HANA database in-memory computing for getting the faster response from the query. We use Java as well as JavaScript, some SQL queries, and Google's Dialogflow. The task we have completed in 30 days, and our solution has been up and running for all our customers from 1st of July, and it's been up and running now. What were an expectations when we started the project? Our chatbot, our journey has to be personalized. It has to be real time, 24 by 365, and identity management is a key part for us. What do I mean by identity management? Is that it has to have an OTP kind of identity management or a certain numbers with a customer and all that. In simple way, it was been clear, very sad that my data should not be visible by somebody else. So Tuskys data will not be visible by Nakumat, vice versa like this. So we have number of wholesalers, number of channel partners, distributor across the country, and they are getting their personalized information 24 by 365, and it's a user friendly too. So these are the business expectations set there. Then also it was been discussed in the business expectations various meetings is that the solution has to be scale up or scale down. It has to be done on the fly. There was no kind of a given a window that you can shut down and you can restart the application. So once you launch applications, the business said you don't have to touch. If you want to scale up, please do it on the fly. And I'll talk about the future readiness also been requested by the business that when we build a solution, it has to have a future readiness too inbuilt into the system. So when we evaluated our technology landscape, the first thing comes was an RPA. It's an RPA is a bot which does all the human interaction in the computer without a human being sitting in the computer. We know the chatbot, it's a human intervention. Okay, so technology landscape was absolutely clear to us. We started with an RPA. Everybody knows about that, what RPA does. That RPA actually does what the human has been doing on the computer. It can copy paste the whatever interaction what we do into the RPA. Okay, so RPA is so we use an RPA, we use a chatbot, then we use some conversational AI, and it has to be user friendly in a way that later on we wanted to do when the conversational commerce, which is a new buzzword in the IT industries. Everybody knows about that C-commerce is the next big thing which is going to happen, that you shop while you are communicating with a bot. So that's a kind of a technology landscape which we discuss it out and we derived that this is how we're going to use this particular thing now. When it comes to the what platform do we use, so we have done some kind of a research and we have put up some kind of a research and we concluded that 8 billion will be saved by year 2022 from the business using a chatbot. This was a prediction was being done by IBM. Also 85% of the all customer interaction will be done by a bot by year 2020, and 50% of a customer would like to talk to you in terms of a messaging. They don't pick up a phone and talk to you. Generally what they do is they message you and then they expect the reply to the message. So this is a given kind of an R&D what we have done so far. Technology landscape. So we have used the RPA, then we have used the chatbot technology, and later we wanted to use the conversational AI, and then we end up our solution with the conversational commerce. So we all know about that C-commerce. It's a new buzzword in the shopping. It's giving you the experience of a shopping as you are communicating with a bot. So that's a technology landscape what we have used for our bot. Now it is time for us to decide that which platform should we use for our particular solution. And if you see the screen, it tells you very clearly that WhatsApp is kind of a most popular and the user-friendly scheme and most adopted in our country as well as in the globally. And 8 billion will be served by year 2022 from business using chatbot. This is on predictions from IBM. There's also one more prediction which was more interesting for us, is that 50% of our customers, or more than 50% of a customer, would like to message you instead of talking to you. So that also gives us a boost while deploying the chatbot. So here is the solution, how it looks like. There's a WhatsApp registered number for us, which is 25471477999, and anybody can say hi to the Rafiki, and then they'll get all the services what is been configured for them. Now, what does it mean? Today, while you are sitting and listening this presentation, when you say hi, it says, okay, please give us your details and we'll update you. So that's an identity management which has been configured. So if you are a regular customer of buying Bitco products directly from a Bitco, You can always say hi to this chatbot, and chatbot will give you all the details. How was the process for us in that? We had just set up an active read-only HANA-DB connection, which is actually for near real time. We have registered our number to the WhatsApp platform using a Facebook, and we have registered ourselves with a Dubsha QuickBox for a Rafiki. As I mentioned, we agreed the business scope, the flow was agreed, and later on the query was designed and POC and go live. So this is a typical and IT implementation which we have done once the business flow was ready for us. What are the services available on the Rafiki AI chat? Now, the customer can ask their outstanding details. They can do full account management. Also, they can see their current outstanding, they can see their aging, they can see their open items. Payment details. They can find out what are the payments has been done to the Bitco as an over a period of time. As well as they can find out the order status. Rafiki can also help the customers to retrieve where the current orders are, which transporter is bringing the goods to them, and what are the driver's numbers and vehicle numbers and various other things. Also, they can see their pending orders. The order has been placed by them to Bitco Africa Limited. And then sales analytics, there's an important tool in the FMCG is that the target has to be achieved by Bitco and the distributor or a wholesaler jointly. So Rafiki is giving them a single version of a truth. Also various offers in the market, what Bitco is been giving, they can find out by click of a button there. So what it brings to the customer? Convenience. Of course, customers were interacting before with Bitco, but using a phone line, using an email, or using the various methods. They don't need to use any traditional method. They can just pick up their phone, get into the WhatsApp, and then start interacting with them. Instant access, 24/7, as I mentioned, and the speed was also very important for us. As soon as you hit the send button, just take a breath, and you will be served by the Rafiki bot. And it's also personalized. I keep on insisting there's a two major things was learning for us is the personalized chat and personalized data access, as well as it has to be near real-time online. What are the benefits which has happened to the business? You have seen generally that you have seen the generally the chatbots are working alongside with the users. They meet the expectations, they please the customer, they are bug free, and there's a standard professional approach when replying to the message. No training required. When I talk about is that the user do not need to add any app onto their phone. Also, by doing that, what does it mean for a Bitco? We do have an internally been all our employees been using our employee engagement chatbot. What they do on that is that they can apply their leave, they can see their pay slip, they can see their leave balance and various attendance and various other things. The similar thing we are coming up with a vendor help desk. So the vendors will able to know that what are the pending orders for them to supply goods to Bitco Africa Limited. Also, they can see what are the purchase order is being in the process, and also inventory board, so you know where the inventory is lying and what stage the inventories are available for that. So there are various boards can come up to that. So yeah, that's our journey for a chatbot. We actually seeing that the AI has been helping us out. It's a quick, it's easy. It's actually, I would put it this way, it's not that difficult for anyone to do that the way it looks like. And I believe that our customers have been appreciating so well, and they are quite happy about it. So that's our journey on chatbot, AI, RPA. There's a few experiments which we have done. We are continuing that. We are all in the digital transformation journey as Bitco Africa Limited. Let's see that. I hope you like that. If any questions related to this, kindly reach out to me. My email address is alkin.patel@Bitco Africa Limited. Thank you for listening to me.
Good afternoon, and thank you for watching this talk. My name is Jay. I'm the Technology and Analytics Manager at Jacaranda Health, and I'm going to talk to you today about how we use AI to help mothers in Kenya get the care they need faster. And so the challenge we have in Kenya is that a third of maternal deaths actually happen because of delays in seeking care. So moms are not getting the care they need when they need it. And just over half of deaths happen due to delays in inaction or inadequate cares by the healthcare providers once the moms get to care. So our vision at Jacaranda Health is a world in which all women experience childbirth safely and with respect, and all newborns get a safe start in life. And the way we're trying to implement this vision is to partner with the government health system, especially the county health systems, where 80% of women go to deliver. We're improving quality of care with a package of proven and low-cost interventions that we're scaling and hopefully and are working to get adapted as the national standard of care. The two interventions we have are, the first is called Prompts, and that's the one I'm going to talk about today. It's a messaging platform that empowers women with information and advice to ensure that they get the care they need at the right time. And a mentorship program which works with government midwives in the public health facilities to provide standardized coaching and mentorship, upskill and train the nurses, and not only to make sure that their emergency skills improve, but also stay sharp. So for Prompts, these are the 4 pillars of the service. And how it works is that when a mom goes to a public health facility, she can sign up for our service. We then send her information about her health, about her pregnancy, the health of her baby. So the information we send is things like information about nutrition, about breastfeeding, about danger signs, and about 25 other topics as well. What we found is that moms started asking us questions, and we have a help desk service to answer those questions. And we've implemented an AI system or artificial intelligence machine learning platform that helps us prioritize these questions for urgency. And we've also integrated our service or our platform within the health system to try and improve outcomes in the health facilities directly. Right now, we have just over 270,000 moms enrolled in our service. This slide says 285 facilities. There's actually about 435 facilities across 8 counties. We're adding moms at a rate of 25,000 a month. And hopefully, and by the end of 2022, we're planning to deploy the Prompts platform at national scale and try and improve access to care for over 1 million mothers during and after pregnancy. Now, because we're enrolling moms at such a rate, and we have so many already in the program, we receive about between 1,000 and 1,200 questions every day. At least half of the moms ask us at least one question. And we have what we call super users, moms who ask us more than 25 questions and sometimes up to 40 and even more. So we've created a help desk to answer the mom's questions, which with the standardized responses that have been developed by our staff OBGYN. And we have as clinical nurses, clinically trained nurses also on the help desk staff answering questions. The challenge we faced is that when we're getting 1,000 and 1,200 plus questions a day, how do you get to the medically serious ones first? And about a third of them are potentially medically serious. So how do we answer questions about bleeding or headaches or swelling or other danger signs before we get to the questions about whether it's okay to eat avocados during pregnancy, for example? And so we implemented a natural language processing agent or bot that reads each incoming message. It assigns a priority level and a suggested response to each question so that our help desk can filter for the urgent questions before they answer the urgent questions before they answer the low priority questions. Integration of that bot into our help desk workflow actually reduced the response time to urgent questions by about half, or just under half, 45%. how we started the implementation of the bot is we took thousands of questions that moms had already asked us. And then our team went and manually assigned intents to each of the questions that we received. So for example, is it okay to eat avocados or eggs would be assigned an intent of nutrition. Something about pain or question about back pain or abdominal pain would also be assigned the appropriate intent. Same for medication and about 30 other intents that we've developed. So this data was then fed into the machine learning model to train it. And this is an example of how the model or the bot supports the help desk. So when a question comes in, it will read the question and assign a priority level according to what it thinks the question is about. It does understand English and Swahili. In English, a combination of both, and also in Sheng. And along with the priority level, so urgent for danger sign responses and maybe a medium or low for other intents like nutrition, we also add a suggested response that the help desk can copy paste into their answer, edit according to the mom's specific needs, and before sending it out. The bot has showed an accuracy of about 95% in categorizing especially urgent questions and danger sign questions, and also applying the correct suggested response. Once we're in the process of actually retraining, we're constantly retraining and refining the model. And in general, it has reduced the response time to all questions, but especially to high priority messages, to about half, and our help desk can get to those questions twice as fast as they used to be able to do before. So while we're using machine learning to augment the help desk's workflow, we don't necessarily want our machine or like a chatbot responding directly to moms, given the kinds of questions that we receive and given the volumes that we receive. So even an error rate of 1 or 2% would be, we wouldn't be okay with the kind of issues that would come from us, even a small error rate. And so while we've built in some automation and in the responses to the moms, we're trying to make sure that it's always backed up by the human touch and by our help desk. Now, what happens when a danger sign is identified by the help desk? And this is an example of a mom named Rose. A week after delivery, she was bleeding excessively and wasn't interested, or she was actually reluctant to go to the health facility. So our help desk, with her permission, gave her number to a champion nurse at a facility that was closest to her location. The nurse called her, convinced her to go, and actually prepared the health facility to receive her so that she wouldn't have to wait in line. She got the care she needed, and we encountered a positive outcome, fortunately. But generally, when we identify these kinds of issues, we do try and connect the mother to care to make sure that they get the care they need as fast as possible. In the follow-up survey that we did with mothers where we had flagged a danger sign and recommended that they go to a hospital, 83% of the mothers that we recommended to seek care actually did get it. Now, this is the final part of our platform, and what we do when a mom goes to a health facility visit, we actually ask her how she was treated. 90% of the responses we receive are quite positive, and moms are generally letting us know that they were treated well, the nurses were friendly and caring, they were informed well, and the delivery went smoothly. There are isolated incidences of issues at the facility, maybe incidences of abuse or conditions that were suboptimal. What we do is with the mom's permission, we anonymize her information, then we share that information back to the facility. and to the sub-county health officials and the reproductive health coordinators. What that means is that the in charges and the health officials can actually get a better idea of what's happening in the facilities, where the challenges are, and then they can make the efforts or put in the resources to address those challenges specifically. So overall, we've seen an impact of moms in the platform where we see a 27% increase in the number of women attending the fourth ANC visit. 22 moms are actually 22% more likely to know when they needed help or needed care, and then actually get the care they need, and almost twice as likely to take up postpartum family planning. And the picture here is of a mom who actually was asking us questions even while she was in labor. And so this has been a brief overview of how we use machine learning to help us connect women to care, empower them with information, and then get them the care they need as soon as they need it, as well as allows our help desk to answer these priority questions faster, in addition to improving the quality of the client experience directly within the facilities. Thank you for attending this talk, and thank you to CIO for organizing this symposium, which is an important and a timely one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was an where we've been able to go through the various discussions. I want to appreciate Jay Patel of Jacaranda Health, Alkane Patel, CEO at Bidco, and also Bernard Rono, CIO at Ketepa. So thank you so much for taking us through that. I know there's one gentleman that we haven't heard from, and we're going to hear from him tomorrow. That is David Karaoke, ICT manager at Ketraco, someone that I appreciate and I know very well. And we're looking forward to also hearing what he has to share tomorrow. So thank you for the case studies, and we totally appreciate that. So we want to go into the final panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been such an engagement, such an amazing session that we have totally enjoyed, and we have learned so much. The panel speakers that have been there, they are crisp and they have been seasoned. So we want to go to a discussion where why CIO's relationship with the business is stronger than ever. And we have lined up such a panel for you, and I'd like to just introduce the panelists who are going to be here. We have the head of IT, HF Group, someone that I know who is extremely passionate about connectivity, about AI and IoT. This is none other than Boniface Owino. Welcome on board, Jacom Mwenyewe. And we also have Alkane Patel. He is the CIO at Bidco. We also want to welcome you on board with us here. And finally, we are going to have the CIO for Kenya Airways. This is one gentleman. I always appreciate how he says the customer is the true north. This is none other than Peter Mungai. And to moderate this fantastic and wonderful session, he is the head of partnerships and content at CIO East Africa. He is passionate about coming together and bringing together people whenever they're having these particular panel discussions. This is the man who puts everything together. When we're coming to the panel discussions, the moderators, the speakers, this is the one true man who brings it all together. And we love him and appreciate him. And this is none other than Humphrey Odhiambo. Take it away, Humphrey, as you moderate this session and take us to the next level. Karibu and Ero Kamano. That is Luo Paul. Thank you.
Wow, what an eloquent introduction, Ian. Thanks for having energy, even when we think that we still need to refuel while getting to the lunch session. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us to this special session that we are going to have with Chief Information Officers from diverse sectors of our economy. Now, key to this, as Ian has actually highlighted, is why CIO's relationship is getting even much stronger in business, probably than ever before. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has disrupted businesses worldwide. but IT resiliency has remained one of the bright spots thanks to the hard work and sparkling relationship of the Chief Information Officers. Delegates, as you join me, the CIOs and, in fact, the technology leaders are squarely pushing the boundaries on long-term technology imperatives. Case in point are areas that relate with digital transformation, of course, data, analytics, and customer centricity to position the businesses for success either now and, of course, in the future. In fact, I'm so privileged this afternoon to be joined by very prolific speakers. That is Alken Patel. Thanks, Alken, for joining us from Bidco. That's from the manufacturing area. And join me also to welcome Peter Mungai. Talk of Kenya Airways. Indeed, we are flying still because of the reasonable and impactful work that the CIO at Kenya Airways is doing. Boniface could not be left behind in this discussion. I noticed that my AMC was introducing him as Jacom. Karibu sana, sir. And I'm going to plunge right into the first question. Gentlemen, and this question, may I pick it with Alken Patel. Are CIOs getting more vibrant in business now than ever before? What are your thoughts, sir? Alken?
Thanks, Humphrey, for having me. Yeah, so as I always, say that CIO has played a very vital role in this pandemic. Since last 2 quarters, they have been working so hard. They've been working with business hand on hand. Either it's been providing a work from home solutions, or let's look at the setting up online meetings, or changing the business processes, cutting down the bureaucracy, or alternative digital channels for the communication. So seeing that, the CIO has shown the resilience now in this pandemic. By doing that, what has happened is now the businesses and the CEOs, I would say they've been now looking at the CIO is no more a technical role. They've been looking at it that these guys are business leaders with an additional responsibility of about the. So considering that, I would say that yes, as we speak today, this role of CIO and the relationship between the CIOs and the CEOs and the businesses actually are at the peak. It was been before stronger, but now it is at the peak. So it's an our job to, let's go ahead and leverage that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alken. Quite useful information that you have shared with us there. I would like, Peter, perhaps you could chime in also as you introduce yourself further.
Thanks, Humphrey. Yes, Peter Mungai, Kenya Airways. The title is Acting CIO. However, things have changed now. CIOs and IT practitioners in general have actually become closer to the business. And this was actually accelerated by the COVID situation. And I think Alken has actually articulated that, but I'll just go on to add that IT is now being viewed as not only a business enabler like it has always been in the past, but more importantly now as a driver of the business. So for CIOs, you've got to really understand the business. The team has to be attuned to what's happening in the business. General hygiene in terms of uptime, ensuring that resilience is in place, that is very important because a downtime will obviously create a lot of situations that can adversely affect the business. But now we're looking at the next frontier. And the next frontier is what can IT do to enhance the organization, to drive objectives, be it the customer, be it sales, revenue. We've got to be on that discussion. And I find that IT now is really now becoming a player on the table.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter. I could swing this now to Boniface. You could jump in and just share your insights on the same as you introduce yourself further, sir.
Thank you, Humphrey, for having me here. And just by way of introduction, I know much has been said, and it was a fantastic way of introducing me. And my name. I'm the head of IT operations at HF Group. Of course, no majority of us know HF Group as an integrated property and financial solutions provider with interest in banking, bank assurance, and of course, property development. At HF, I just make sure that always ensuring that the core infrastructure, IT service management, end user support, of course, the first level application support is on. So just to the topic, I think it's key. The CIOs are getting stronger and stronger right now because even during this period of pandemic, it has been very critical. I remember at the beginning, we had to start running around because of the various business requirements. People need to work from home. People need to work from anywhere. And it is these the various tools that we have to give the people to enable them work maybe remotely. We have to enable them to either collaborate and communicate with each other. We have to meet also business requirements through digitization because most of the customers right now have moved. So we have to meet requirements, and CIOs and IT leaders are now at the center stage to ensure that we are able to achieve. Thank you, Humphrey.
Thank you so much, Boniface. I would like now to, still to you, Boniface, you could kindly point to us, particularly from the financial perspective, where an area that you serve. Okay, I noticed that there is an internet lapse on your end, so I'll swing this question to Alken. To what extent are businesses, from your perspective, are adjusting and indeed coping with the new normal that we are plunging ourselves into?
So according to me, Humphrey, I would say that this is a new normal now. What we are operating now, it's a new normal. What do we expect as going forward? It may be the version of what we've been doing now as an IT sector. We see that always, now the businesses are being accepted that work from is an work from.
Okay, I notice again the challenges that we are having, especially with the internet. Kindly, if your waves are okay at Kenya Waves, my brother Peter, the same question, please. How are we adjusting in business right now, and how are the CIOs ensuring that this becomes sustainable? Peter, I think you're on mute, sir. Unmute.
Sorry about that.
Welcome back, sir.
All right, so taking your question into a little more context, if you look at the discussion point at the very beginning, it's about how is IT assisting the business, or how is IT becoming a business enabler and driving business objectives. The key thing for CIOs and IT practitioners big data. For a business unit, for example, in our case, cargo, for example, the general manager of cargo doesn't care to understand what big data is, or doesn't care to understand what transformation stands for. but he knows his customers and he knows his objective, and he's looking to see how he can actually try and build on that. So as IT, we need to understand the business, get involved in understanding what is a driver for that particular business unit, and then start to articulate some of the things that we know in the background that can definitely start to make changes for them and start presenting it to him. So customer insights, he'll understand that. And that is how he knows he's going to be able to start being able to get more customers and start driving the business objectives and increasing revenue. So as an IT practitioner, you need to be closer to the business partners and understand what's going on, and then translate that into actual value that is actually consumable by the business unit. So in essence, it's about IT CIOs, IT practitioners getting closer to the business, getting embedded, and really getting insight what is actually driving that.
Thanks so much, Peter. Very insightful. Patel, you actually in the course of giving us some insights before there was an internet lapse. Would you like to chime in at this juncture, please?
Yeah, if you can hear me, can you hear me well?
I can hear you now very clearly, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Humphrey. So what us saying that when we talk about the, let's say, next normal, what is it? It's just a version upgrade in our technical language when we talk it that. Whatever is been happening today is going to accelerate as going forward now. When we go to year 2021, the things won't go back to the old normal plus vaccinated world. It's going to, it's like online meetings are going to happen, the online trainings, the working from home is being accepted, online board meeting we have seen so far. So many things has been changed if you look at it in the last 2 quarters. We have seen actually the rise in the cyber security platform, as well as we have seen the rise into the data privacy and data protection platform. Now, if I talk today is that when you evaluate the project now, where what kind of the infrastructure you want to build, there is no kind of a comparison is going to happen that we non-premise or we go for a cloud computing. Now, businesses understand, CEOs understand that cloud computing is the way to go. So in that way, the things have been changed now after the COVID pandemic. So my understanding is that in next normal, it's actually the wonderful world is going to come now for a digital transformation journey. So that's my thoughts on this next journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Patel. I believe now we have back Boniface. Boniface, we would like to share with us the kind of experience in terms of sustainability that CIOs are having in the financial front. To sustain the businesses. Boniface, can you hear us? I guess I'll still swing again back to...
Thank you, Humphrey. I totally agree.
Okay, now I can hear you, sir. Sorry about that lapse.
Sorry, so I was just saying I agree with Alken and Peter because focus is now shifting toward ensuring that businesses are trying to forge through any future disruptions, because just like we've learned from this disruption and the lessons that we've learned, the CIOs and the IT leaders are now trying to evaluate the businesses, various ideas they've had in plan to do, and just to make sure that they are properly positioned and just they are well optimized to be able to get the proper return on investments, as well as getting the investments. They're trying to create the funding. So I think that's very key as part of a contribution of the CIOs and IT leaders towards making sure that the adjustments the businesses are making will give that return investment that is required. The IT leaders as well are currently trying to cast the leadership, putting in place the right team that can be able to make them achieve the technology requirements in terms of the new that we have, like AI, maybe IoT, and the clouds that we have. Because the digital dispensation, because of the customer requirement, has become a necessity. And therefore, that is another way to CIOs can plug in just to ensure that the mentoring that their customers still ask and get the best service that they need. Thank you, Humphrey.
You've more or less read my mind in the next question that I was going to ask, indeed. But let me swing it over to Peter. What are some of the technology-driven imperatives that CIOs and indeed heads of IT need to really take into account as we plunge into this new normal, which Alken has really emphasized? It's a new phase of life, indeed.
I think to answer that question, I'll start with looking at the silver lining that is COVID. Yes, it has been a lot of doom and gloom, but the one thing that has happened, and it's important that I just try and phrase this well, it has given IT practitioners, has given the CIO that prominence at the table. Because all of a sudden, in a very short period of time, people needed to work from home. People were working from other places other than the main office space as created. And that got IT really on the right foot of being a discussion point with the business units. And nothing could happen without IT on the table. With that said, we've gotten a window of opportunity to really be at the table to start driving the agenda, because all of a sudden we're not just a support function trying to solve problems. Now we're at the table where we have the opportunity to start driving objectives, like I mentioned earlier. So talking about the new normal, it's about IT practitioners and CIOs seizing this opportunity and not letting go, because all of a sudden you're able to now start using the technologies that are needed to start driving the business objectives. So with that said, key in this new normal, as you call it, is security. Security is critical. With people working from disparate spaces, everybody understands the kind of challenges that are on the table. Even the board members now are really asking some of these questions. Internal governance, security posture of the organization is key. So that's going to be one of the key elements. Number two is about data, understanding data. Now, again, back to IT, we understand what data is, big data, but it's about being able to translate that into business objectives to start driving customer satisfaction and getting insights to drive the business moving forward. There's going to be data and security. That's where I'm coming from.
Very, very insightful, sir. Alken, you could still elaborate further on, or even additional ideas on where would be the starting point for this preference on technology-driven technologies that the CIOs really need to plug into going forward?
So I agree with Peter, and in the point is that data security, and from to bottom, everybody is worried about the data security, data privacy, and then on the other side, the techie guys have been worried about that, how to handle the cyber security. So these are the main concerns are going to as forward. But I think we have to adopt that. We have to accept that this is going to be the new challenge for an CIO now. Also, one more thing we need to understand that some of the word has been limited to the IT users, now being actually used by the Wananchis also. Let's accept the fact is that quarantine is a very, very popular thing which we do in day-to-day basis in our practice years. But now even everybody knows that what's the word of quarantine. So on a lighter way, that digital tools are no longer being, we are not a custodian of a technology. We actually have to leverage the technology now and provide the user-friendly experience to the consumers, or maybe even the society, or to the global village. But to my understanding now, as we go now, I think is that now the challenge, the serious challenge which the CIO is going to now face is that the spending is going lesser compared to the previous years now. The businesses are being, much cautious about their spending. How do we manage the budget? So CI has to look at it either asset light project, or they have to let's say look at it in the way of
OPEX kind of a model or cost revenue sharing model or complete offshore the project. Okay, these are the serious challenges which IT has to look into it apart from the technology side of it. By saying that, once again, the IT leader should not be forget that they have to keep continuously demonstrating their empathy to the end users. The app or the solutions or whatever the applications you're going to develop, it has to have an user friendly. You don't have a time to go to each users and demonstrate that. Either you leverage the online platform or you leverage the e-training, but the empathy has to be there in whatever you do as leaders, because you are not considered as an IT leader now. You have shown that then you become like the chief crisis officer when the business were required somebody to do the rescue. So that's something IT leader has to be keeping that thing in mind as going forward.
Great. Boniface, just on the same, where should we increase our focus on this new paradigm that we are facing now?
Okay, thanks, Humphrey, once more. I think business continuity will also be very important going forward, because we have seen quite a lot of disruption, especially in the area of personnel. We've had all these lockdown, we had this normally when
I'm troubled. I think we've gotten some internet challenge there. I was just asking about where we need to increase our momentum. The first two speakers have alluded to it. But Alken, is there any area that you think we can increase our focus or more concentration on right now, since we have had last 9 months of deeper experience in this new phase of doing things?
I would say that, yeah, we have learned a lot. We actually been caught overnight that all of a sudden the country gets into the lockdown, and we plan that our employees and our users has to work from home and all that. But now at least we learn from there. And then now let's look at it this way as in CIO now. As going forward, maybe the vaccine is next door now. When the vaccine is arrived in the country, are we our supply chain management or are our logistic things or trace and traceability and tracking and all that? Or are these technologies are up to date? So when we have the vaccine, we able to manage that it has been spread across the country, and we can kind of get rid of the COVID as far as, let's say, Kenya is concerned. So those kind of future readiness has, it's more or less as an IT leader, we start thinking about it, that what's going to happen once the vaccine is coming to market. That's the first point. The second point, if I look at it in the FMCG part of it, generally when you deploy the digital technology, digital solution, there is always been sometimes a push. Now there is a serious pull. There is a serious pull from the customer. There is a serious pull from the consumer as well as the enterprises. Are we ready to fulfill that demand of the digitalness? Everybody wants solution to be used either on the phone or a computer and wherever they are. I think one of the sessions we have seen that now we don't say that work from home, it says work from anywhere. So our applications, our solution has to be designed and installed and implemented in that way. So that's a main area. But more or less, if you look at it, the technology point of view, there are two major things which is coming out from our learning. One is the cloud computing or cloud infrastructure, and the other one is in security. So that's a two area which will be, we should be focusing on as a CIOs. Thank you.
Fantastic, Alken. Very, very, very insightful, I must add. Boniface, now that you are back, I was asking about where we need to increase our momentum, and indeed you're alluding to a very critical component that inclines towards human resource. Your point again, sir.
Yes, Humphrey. I was just mentioning that it will be key at this time also to ensure that we have proper business continuity, because I think at this time we've had a lot of challenges, especially with personnel continuity, because from time to time, either we have a problem within a department in terms of COVID infection or something like that, and we most of the time would have these people either isolated or in quarantine, and therefore it impacts the performance of the business in terms of personnel delivery. So I think business continuity, personnel business continuity going forward will be very important for the CIOs, because CIOs will enable this through either ensuring that systems are working correctly and can easily be accessed by the personnel working remotely. Say an example, by adopting either cloud strategies or systems that can allow various workers or personnel that are probably working from home to be able to work on them. Say an example, you take an example of software developers. They probably have a better hand to be able to work from home simply by working on the software, the say functions that they need to deliver, and probably they bring it together to be integrated. So I think business continuity for the personnel will be very important. Hand in hand with that will also be for the CIOs and IT leaders to make sure that we have effective collaboration tools, because these teams that are working anywhere, anytime, definitely need to communicate. They need to be able to share ideas. So it will be very important to give clear guidelines on how they're able to collaborate and to be able to deliver for the business. Thank you, Humphrey.
That's so awesome, sir. Boniface, you've given us a real drive, and you've painted a proper human component in all this. It's not really just about the technology that we deploy this time round, but it's how we are actually going to utilize it at the end of the day. Gentlemen, we are coming to the end of this particular session. I'm being prompted that it's only 2 minutes, 21 seconds, and I would like to give each one of you a privilege of 30 seconds. May I reduce it to 29? I have just minus 1. And I'll begin with Peter. Your parting shot, please, in this session, having noticed about the challenges that we are having, having noticed about the opportunities that we are having. What would you say is your parting shot, and what would you advise colleagues, peers within the information strata?
Thank you, Humphrey. For me, the parting shot would be around get on the table to start understanding the business, how it's working, start coming up with solutions. We've seen a lot of organizations not meeting their revenue targets, cash is tight. So based on that, what can IT do to fill in that gap? And the technology is there. We just never had the opportunity to actually put our best foot forward to try and drive that. Now it's a real clear and present situation that we find ourselves in. So automation, digitization, put it on the table, start to see what you can try and do with less. With a lot of downsizing that's happening in organizations, how can IT step in to fill in that gap so that the ultimate business objective is not left out? That's the only thing I can say right now. The bottom line is just understand the business and start coming up with solutions that can drive business objectives.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter. May I swing to Alken, please, on this particular one? Your parting shot to industry peers.
I'd say Industry 4.0 is now no longer a goal. It's actually knocking your door. So don't let that opportunity go from your hand. As an IT leader, you accelerate the digital transformation now because it has picked up the pace. Our job is to let's accept and achieve the fulfillment of all the business requirement. Also, there won't be any further IT projects in the industries. It will be a business project. Only the IT will be a technology enabler on that. So let's start taking this challenge. We have seen that the challenge has been faced to the CIOs. They have bounced back always. They have come out much stronger and stronger. So let's take up that challenge. And one more thing is that focus on fail fast, because speed is the most important thing. Time to market for your solution, it's very critical. I would say that's it. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Alken. And to Jacom, You could give us the panning shots, then we sign out from the studio, and in fact, wish our colleagues good appetite for the lunch that I'm sure is ahead of them right now, sir.
Thank you, Humphrey, once more. I think for me, CIOs currently, courtesy of this pandemic, I think they have the ears of the boards of directors and the CEOs more than ever. And I think they should use this opportunity to identify business digitization needs and subsequently also track the return on investments. As well, they should evaluate and expand skill bases for technology requirements within their staffs. And I think the last one that I would say is for them to regularly evaluate their security needs and data privacy issues. I think just a few days ago, we had the data commissioner sworn in, and I think this will be a very big one for CIOs, just to make sure that data is not lying anywhere, anyhow. So I think that would be key. Thank you, Humphrey.
Very important point you have actually mentioned there. We should not let our data just getting trailed all over. Our dear delegates, this is what we had for you, and indeed the case is so well justified. CIOs have got now a more tighter relationship to business than ever before. It is bound even to get much stronger. It is a tight relationship. And signing out now, I salute you, gentlemen, for that articulation this afternoon. I wish you all the best, plus the industry growth for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Humphrey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Humphrey Odhiambo, and that exciting panel for that particular discussion. We totally enjoyed that. And thank you for your time. Thank you for just articulating the topic so well. We totally appreciate that. And also now we want to appreciate our sponsors. We have VMware, Dimension Data, thank you very much, Reddington, Palo Alto, Intel, we have Huawei, we also have Fortinet, Intrasoft, we have Manage Engine, Synchron, and last but not least, Convergence Network Solutions, where I'm also an employee there. So please make sure that you can be able to go and visit the booths, get the brochures there, and also make sure that you are able to book meetings with those particular sponsors. All right, they'll also be open tomorrow, so please make the engagement there, and we'll definitely have a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, that was an amazing day, and we totally appreciate each and every one of you. Tomorrow is the grand finale, the icing on the cake, and the cherry on top. We are going to have a gala dinner that is going to be at Lake Naivasha Resort. So you can get your ticket at the CIO website, that is www.cio.co.ke, and the ticket is going for $150. The dress code, it's open. You can come in African, you can come with your glitz and glam, so it's an open dress code. But just make sure that you dress to kill, all right? And it's going to be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we're looking forward to seeing each and every one of you there for the gala dinner. Who is going to be the CIO of the year? I can't wait to hear that. I can't wait to see. I'm totally bumped, and I'm also excited just to see who's going to be in there. All right, and definitely we want to do a little bit of jig, as you know, here at CIO TV. We just don't close the session like that. We want to prepare you as you go for your lunch, and please, wherever you are, just put on your dancing shoes, put the seats aside, get some little space, and then we can be able to proceed from there. All right, Mr. Director, you have the gig. Can put the nice song. Wherever you are, just make sure that you've got some space, and then we can be able, we want to prepare ourselves for the gala dinner. So make sure that you have some space wherever you are, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing session. I want to make sure that I popped off and make sure that I'm ready to get into the dancing game. All right? So we want to take it a little bit to South Africa, all right? And this is a nice South African song, okay? Put it here and look at yourself at the mirror as you get ready for the gala dinner. Like the South Africans, just move your body. We have a border now, we're born anymore. Choose to mass Taylor. We have a border now, we're born anymore. Choose to mass Taylor. We have a border now, we're born anymore. Choose to mass Taylor. We have a border now, we're born anymore. Everything that's in store. Everything John Food again. You're such a success. Everything that's in store. Everything John Food again. Everything that's in store. Everything John Food again. Regardless of everything that's in store. Everything John Food again. Everything that's in store. 1, 2, 3. Everything John Food again. Side. Everything that's in store. 1, 2, 3. Everything John Food again. Side. Everything that's in store. 1, 2, 3. Everything John Food again. Side. Everything that's in store. 1, 2, 3. Everything John Food again. Side. I fully get it. John Food again. I fully get it. John Food again. And the last move I want you to do it like a boss, alright? I fully get it. John Food again. 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 Thank you so much, Mr. Director. Totally appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this signature Day 1 event, the CIO 100 Symposium and Awards. We have been really excited to have you here with us. Those were amazing panel discussions, and we're celebrating 12 years of CIO 100. And how best to celebrate this than have it live on air here at CIO TV. Thank you so much. Hand on heart, we appreciate each and every one of you for your engagement. Our sponsors, our delegates, the panelists, the speakers, we appreciate each and every one of you. We're looking forward to having you here tomorrow, and we're going to have an equally exciting session. We're going to take it higher and higher. So thank you so much. Enjoy your lunch. Enjoy your afternoon. See you here tomorrow, and let's all meet at Naivasha tomorrow evening. My name is Ian Merore, and I have been your moderator for the session. Thank you very much, and happy International Day to the men, to the ladies. We love you and appreciate you. Thank you very much.